Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Anonymous Gamers. I am your host, AvatarAidan, with my friends KibbsMcGibbs, Knackster, and Protector of Memes.
Long time no see.
Long time no see.
Yeah, long time no see.
Hey, Shadow. Long time
Yeah.
no see.
Yeah, long time no see.
Better start than last time.
me when I'm in a desert.
So, we're going to talk about games we played last year that didn't come out this year, basically. I have the list because...
Well, I mean, didn't come out in 2023 because this is being recorded and released in early 2024.
So, I have the list of talking points on a Google Doc right now. Y'all gave me games/series you first experienced this year. So...
Hey, what if looking at the list, what if I told you there's a game I wanted to talk about that?
Oh, God!
Wait.
DM it. I had it all organized.
No.
I know.
You're ruining the ADHD circle.
I want that one to be on there.
Oh, I already have it on there.
Oh, okay, I was looking at the old list. Okay, cool.
No, I have the new one. Yeah. We got 2 other games on there.
If we went into like everything that I played that was in my backlog this year, it would just be me talking for like an hour.
Okay. Spoiler alert for the next podcast. This motherfucker played way too much shit last year.
No. I didn't play enough.
You played so much. There's a second page
I don't
on
know.
He
didn't hit 100. And,
I didn't hit 100.
Closest, so
that's
if
true.
anything, I think that's should really think about that.
I'll hit it this year.
So, the first game on this list, I know me and Protector played it, and I think Kibbs, but I don't know about Knack. Kirby and the Forgotten Land?
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if Knack played it.
So, funny enough, at the start of 2023, I had a choice between buying 2 games, and I bought the game that I just DM'd you about instead of Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Considering the reputation of that game, you probably picked the wrong choice.
There's a reason I want to talk about that game, actually, and it's because I disagree with the public on that one.
We'll get to it. But I know, Protector, you played Kirby and the Forgotten Land last year.
That is true. Yeah. I got it for Christmas of 2022 and tried to make some progress around that time, but I was too caught up on my Series X and frontiering all over the place in 60 FPS.
I played it. Well, I got it for Christmas last year, and I beat it early this year. Well, I say early this year, but it's literally early this year. But I finished it a few days ago, and I think this is one of the best Kirby games ever, honestly. Like, it's not Planet Robobot levels of peak. I say that because Gurren Lagann brain rot, but I would say it's better than most of the modern Kirby games that we got in the past decade. Well, excluding not Epic Yarn, Star Allies.
Epic Yarn is peak, so that's all I'm gonna say.
I haven't played it.
You are my least favorite person.
But I think one of the pros Forgotten Land has is how it. So this is the first 3D Kirby, like fully 3D regular Kirby formula game. I think it's shocking how natural it feels to play Kirby in 3D. Like, he has the I don't want to say suck because that sounds so sexual, but he has inhaling. He has.
If you think suck inherently sounds sexual, that's a bit of a serious problem.
But we have inhaling, we have exhaling, or poofing out, copy abilities, and jumping, obviously. I really like the copy ability system in this game because it's just fun to use copy abilities like sword, hammer, and all that stuff. Except for Needle. Needle sucks. But
to be honest, Needle's only really good when you can get some downhill momentum.
Yeah, momentum, a Sonic fan enemies.
Needle's like one of my
favorite.
Okay,
the whole momentum controversy died out like months ago. We don't need to bring it back up.
But I don't know. I just never found Needle all that useful compared to like Ranger, which is now one of my new favorite copy abilities.
Oh, Ranger's busted. And you could literally just keep witch time dodging around enemies and then just shooting them from afar and with absolutely no consequence.
As soon as you get
That's foreshadowing the game I want to talk about.
Oh,
we gotta
I
mention
know the game now.
but
I'm sorry, I'm stupid. Okay.
but like Ranger was already one of my favorites as soon as I got a good hang of it. But like, I love the copy ability system in this game because you get to choose because you get blueprints for not new copy abilities but different versions of those copy abilities. Like,
yeah, it's basically new and improved versions. Usually it's like 3 at max, with the third one being the most blatant an example of being the strongest of the lot. Although there is the odd occasion where you can get a special 4th one, like with Meta Knight's Galacta sword.
But like when I saw Ranger can dual wield, I'm like, nope, keep it. That's all I need. That's all I need to get through the game.
Ooh, guns?
Yeah, you could dual wield in Kirby in Forgotten Land. Did you not know that?
I played the entire game with my wife, and I played as the second player. I don't even remember who the second.
Oh yeah,
player is.
Bandana D. He's the only way you can actually. He's the only way you can actually use Spear in Forgotten Land for some reason. Like,
Yeah.
and that's been true for Star Allies as well. It's like, come on, I loved Spear or in
Wasn't
Triple
that-
Deluxe. I want to
isn't that
impale
like-
things. Give me
It's
it.
a thing now.
Isn't Spear like staff in Star Allies, if I remember correctly?
No, the staff does not have a blade.
It's basically the same
Does
ability.
it have like the
and-
same move though?
Yeah, basically.
Does it
yeah.
function?
Maybe not. It's been a while. No, my girlfriend hasn't booted up Star Allies for multiplayer shenanigans in a long time anyways.
That's fair.
Fair
The
enough,
game looks
yeah.
kind of mid.
It really is.
Yeah, forgot.
Or
It's
mid.
fun though. That's also fair. I won't even lie.
I think my favorite thing about Forgotten Land is that the ending's like the most anime thing I've ever seen of Kirby, and there's a Kirby anime.
I don't know, man. It's just that.
I mean,
for me,
here's the
that's just
thing.
classic Kirby.
The Kirby anime was more of a slice of life thing, which seemed to be pretty popular around the time for some kids' anime.
Yeah.
Sonic X being a big example where it was more about the day-to-day shenanigans that the crew got up to instead of blitzing for a speed hurry. They got supersonic speeds, but that's besides the point.
The
Things.
best of
Though it
those
is
animes.
kind of strange that starting from Kirby Triple Deluxe, we've really had more blatant examples of finishing moves that would be taken straight out of an anime. And then
Okay.
Planet Robobot decided to be like, hey, let's reference Gurren Lagann, because why not?
And
The
that
best
is
of
why.
those-
That's why Planet Robot's the best one.
Planet Robobot is the best one because of the robot,
No.
because of the Robobot mech in of itself.
That
Kirby
is
and the
true.
Crystal Shards is the best one.
That one's also really good, yeah.
Because that's the one I played in my childhood.
I like Dreamland 3, which is at like the bottom of most people's lists.
Dreamland 3 is just one I just can't vibe with, honestly. I like the Metroid reference, but
I
that's
just
really
like
it.
I just like how pretty that game looks.
I mean, it is very pretty as well. Yeah, yeah. Sounds
It's
played
good.
like,
And
played
it's
like
got
3 Kirby games.
same.
I played like
No, I think I
11
played
to
4.
12. I played 11 to 12. I need to play more Kirby. But yeah, Forgotten Land, one of my new favorite Kirby games, is one of my new favorite games from 2022. Honestly,
Pretty alright.
Honestly, one thing I want to point out is just how surprisingly well done the combat was in 3D. Mainly because they decided, hey, let's give the more experienced players a bit of an edge by allowing them to witch time dodge at just the right moments, and even have some bonus conditions for boss fights that require you to play a bit more competently than usual.
yeah.
And on that note, boss fights, it's my big highlight, especially DDD's second phase, where he just ends up going super feral and runs on all fours, ready to tell you a new one.
Bro, that song, the DDD boss fight song goes so fucking hard. I did not imagine Kirby music with guitars in it.
You clearly
Kirby's
haven't
doing
been
that
around
for a
for
while.
Superstar Ultra. I mean, seriously, Galacta Knight's a thing.
I haven't played Superstar Ultra, so yeah, I only played the original.
You could also play Return to Dreamland or Planet Robobot.
I haven't played those in a while, so I need to replay those, yeah. But I guess next up we could talk about Protector. This is probably a quick one for you. Eiyuden Chronicle Rising?
I don't even know how it's pronounced. Is it Eiyuden or Eiyuden?
I say Eiyuden.
This is the Suikoden spiritual successor, right?
I think so.
It's the prequel game to the.
Oh yeah, it's a prequel game to the 100 Heroes thing that's coming out soon, which is also going to be dropping onto Game Pass. So I'll probably pick it up right then and there. Yeah, and I had no idea what to expect going into it. Truth be told, the only reason I even played it was because there was an Xbox Game Pass mission at the time, back when they had game-specific missions and not just generic, get the achievement or do this other thing or something like that. That's the new system for Game Pass these days. Anyways, I haven't got too much to say on it other than, it's kind of this weird blend between a Metroidvania, platformer, action RPG. Can't really quite make out what it's supposed to be, so it's more or less just a mix of all of them. Exploration that's pretty damn fun, especially once I got more characters and equipment and to deal with what was ahead. Whether it be with getting extra mobility for CJ, some added oomph for Garou, or whatever Isha had to offer. I was always just playing a CJ more often than not. That's only because the air dashes and double jump were more than enough to keep me satisfied. You can tell I'm still a Mega Man X fan at heart. But really what was just keeping me going was, well, for one, the amazing visuals. You remember the likes of Octopath Traveler, those HD 2D sprite-based games that have been popping up recently?
That people are starting to hate?
They sure have.
They sure have,
well,
yeah.
Well, Eiyuden Chronicle Rising is another one of those excellent-looking HD 2D sprite-based games with some use of 3D stuff. In a way, it's 2.5D, although unlike Klonoa, it doesn't really play around with the concept. But I can tell you this much, it looks absolutely gorgeous. If I can say anything that stood out, it was, on the story and characters. Mainly because I just felt like CJ, Garou, and Isha really bounced off each other nicely. And every interaction they had with NPCs was pretty fun. I don't remember too much of it, though, because it's been a pretty long time since I even bothered to boot up the game. I went through the main campaign, and did some achievement cleanup, just to have everything down, and I haven't really looked back on it since, because it's not really something I'd see myself replaying anytime soon.
I seen some screenshots of it because I bought the game because it looked interesting. The graphical style kind of reminds me of, this is going to sound like a weird game, Disney's action hero Hercules on PS1.
Oh, that game actually has a cool aesthetic. I've never.
Yeah,
played
exactly.
it,
I was
but I've
looking
seen
at it like, it kind of looks like this.
You put sprites on like a 3D background, and you make me smile. That's my secret.
So basically, Klonoa won.
Listen, when we talk about Klonoa, don't worry. I will be talking about how much I love that PS1.
Well, another thing that kept me coming back was some of the cool tricks in the combat I could do, namely being able to chain back-to-back attacks by switching between each of the three members of the party, which can all be done at the press of a little button. And anything else I could do that involved taking advantage of elemental weaknesses just to hasten the process. But I also, it's not exactly a fully easy game, I'd say. It's, on the challenging side, especially when you haven't prepared, that it was a decent time. I'm sorry I haven't got much let's just say on Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, because again, it's not quite fresh in my mind, and quite a bit of it's a blank.
I mean, like I said, it was probably going to be a quick one for you because you played it like early 2023, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. It was pretty, hey, good. You know, not much I'll say, and I might even pick it up on Switch if I feel like giving it another go.
I mean, you have another game to look forward to, I guess.
I mean, yeah, 100 Heroes is going to be dropping on Game Pass soon enough, though, funnily enough, I'm a bit more interested in Persona 3 Reload.
Luna's got to you. So, they all do.
I mean, for fuck's sake, you've been hanging around me long enough to make me curious about getting into Xenoblade.
Yes, I worked.
Xenoblade?
Look, I got my friends into Xenoblade, and now I got one of my friends into Xenoblade. They can't shut the fuck about it anymore. I succeeded in my mission.
Xenoblade's a good.
Anyways, how about some trails in the sky?
Yep, the trail series.
We're just pulling this one out now, huh?
Ooh. Rip the long ass Band-Aid off and get it over with.
I mean, I'll just start by saying Trails 1 through 5 were my 5 most played Steam games this year.
That's sad.
No, it's not. It was.
Is it really? Is it really any sadder than investing most of my PS4 playtime this year into platinuming the Bayonetta Legacy collections? Is it?
Okay, that one's also pretty.
Yeah, I feel like Trails was a better use of your time there.
I agree.
I haven't even played Battle Network yet. I'm gonna get around to it someday.
You don't need to. You can just play Trails instead. So.
Well, I'm gonna finish all of Trails first.
I played the first one, and now Knack literally was breathing down my neck the other day, like, "Hey, second chapter, right? Like, I'm like, calm down, brother."
No, listen. If anything, I'm just concerned because you finished first chapter, and like you're not experiencing symptoms of I've got to get to second chapter.
I mean, I'm gonna get the second. I'm gonna get the second chapter this year. It's on my schedule. It's just I've been busy. I'll also have to play Eternites for the 2023.
No, you don't,
right.
Bro.
Anyways, I'm just gonna
play it for you.
I'm just gonna do my quick Trails experience because I do think we eventually plan to have like a more detailed talk, at least on the Sky trilogy.
Yeah.
So, I have wanted to play Trails for a long time. I finally ripped the Band-Aid off this year. Sky first chapter was just... It reminded me why I love the JRPG genre. I know some people are trying to phase that term out. I don't know what we're going to call them yet, so I'm going to keep using that for right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that game, lovely. Sky second chapter is just my favorite game of the year. No questions asked. Phenomenal follow-up. Third was very, very good. And Zero was also very, very good.
I know you and Kibbs had a problem with Azure, I'm pretty sure.
Well, that's a 2023 game, so we can talk about it in the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. Kibbs, you went through this series like it was on fire, so like you needed to get through it as fast as possible.
It's funny. I started way before he did.
Yeah. No, I actually I hopped on Trails because I don't remember if it was you, Knack, or one of my other buddies that was like, you should play this, and then someone else
both
said,
me and TJ, I think, separately told you to play it.
Yeah, I don't know who said it first, but you guys picked it up at the same time, and I was like, it's a sign, I gotta buy this game, and so I just picked up the first chapter. I picked up Trails in the Sky first chapter, and my life has changed dramatically since then, for the better. For my quick thoughts, first chapter is really good, much like Knack. It's like this is why I love like JRPGs. Second chapter also was my favorite game that I played last year. Actually, just like I think about it on the daily. It's so good. Second chapter is when I started convincing everybody else I knew that they had to play Trails. Third is also really good. Just a lot of. I think the gameplay in the Sky trilogy peaks in third, which makes sense, I guess.
100% agree there.
I I think that's just a thing with like most third entries in games. So like they just refine it to the max in the third.
Third in particular is a lot more gameplay. Well, specifically combat focused. First.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
Zero was very good. I like Zero. I'll give my basic thoughts on Azure right now because I went past Azure and got the Cold Steel. Azure was also good. There will be a lot more later when we get to that. And then Cold Steel 1 and 2, I really enjoyed. I know a lot of people don't really like them, but
Wait, hold on. Cold Steel the Hedgehog?
Oh god!
Oh, Trails of Cold Steel.
You keep going.
Oh, I picked up Cold Steel 3, and that's when the burnout hit, and I went, okay, I gotta step back.
I remember I find it funny how your like Trails opinions started going downhill after Zero, and it's like slowly going down in rating.
I will say though, I do think the quality drops after Zero in the series. I think slowly it does kind of get a little bit worse, and it takes a specific shift that is very tangible if you start from the beginning and play through. Don't start with Cold Steel 3. Don't do that.
I know someone who literally made a bit.
Do you think Farewell Ozamuria is going to be a good starting point?
You know, considering that it's the most recent thing and it's the start of wrapping up the entire arc.
Yeah, some people are actually saying it is just going to be Kuro 3.
It probably started off as Kuro 3 and then like took a grander scope.
I just call this series the One Piece of video game.
The One Piece.
I just want to throw in real quick too because Aiden's introduction made it sound like I'm an Azure hater. I am not. I think it's a good game. It just for years seeing it touted as the best Trails game set some expectations for me that the game sadly did not meet. It is still very good.
Yeah.
There is a shift, I also agree, that starts taking place there. A very brief is I feel it is where the shift from a character-driven narrative to a plot-driven.
100%.
I think happens there.
Yeah, 100%.
And I tend to prefer more character-driven stories.
And yeah, me too. Azure is Azure is like up until that point to me was the worst one in the series, but it was still like a 9 out of 10, almost a 10 out of 10. But
it's still great. It just
So I played. So the first time I heard of this game, well, this series more specifically, was a King K video. But he talked about it briefly, like one of his end of the year videos. Then you and Knack were like, "Oh, you guys need to play Trails. It's so good." I'm like, "Okay, it's on sale. I'll pick it up." I got through the prologue. Didn't pick it up after that for like nearly half a year. Until Knack's like, I
will say, King K playing through it is actually one of the things that kind of put it back in my memory bank because I've owned first chapter since like Christmas 2019.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow, that was 5 years ago now. Holy shit!
I bought it back then, and I'd always just been kind of afraid to pull the trigger because I knew I'd be opening Pandora's box once I did. But I don't regret it. It was a good choice.
It's very good.
Very good. Then I finally played it, and I literally was at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play through the entire thing. It's only 5 chapters. We'll be fine. I went through those 5 chapters. I streamed the final dungeon with Knack. That's honestly one of my favorite memories from last year. And just seeing him overreact to me missing a chat.
You know what?
It wasn't an overreaction.
Yeah. And also, Aiden, I'm gonna validate you. I've seen another of Kibbs and I's friends play through Trails to Zero, and you at least had all your orbment slots filled out.
You told me that. You told me that.
We one of my buddies played through the Sky Trilogy, got to Zero, and we were watching him go through the final boss, and we had to Knack did it. I just sat and watched in disappointment because I tried teaching him before. Knack sat him down again and was like, all right, here's how you play the game.
I almost feel bad because there is no way to call what I did anything other than backseating. I just took this dude's experience over, and I said, no, you're playing it wrong. You're way to play.
It's literally like
you don't want to run monocolor setups. That's bad.
That is bad.
He was missing some accessories on some of his characters.
What? At least I had accessories, even if they were bad.
He could have equipped better like defensive gear. I think there were a couple weapons that he had that were better than the ones he had equipped. So we're just like, dude, you gotta look at your stuff. And so I was telling him, like, when you play Azure, if you want me to, I will check up with you every chapter and make sure your gear's up to snuff. Because I'm just so confused how you it's the orbit system is the defining feature of the Trails series, right? He's a special case. He can get through literally any game playing it literally completely wrong. He'll find a way. In first chapter, he just used confuse on literally everything.
Okay, but that is one of the best ways to play first chapter. I taught it in that one too.
It's just like, yeah, it's just crazy. I don't know how he did it.
But then second chapter punishes that by making everything immune to confuse.
Yeah.
Because they realized, hey, we made the status effect just a little too good.
I don't know. I don't know how he beats half of the games that he does. There's a bit that we have in that friend group of he's the reason we're never gonna get a difficult Nintendo game ever.
Oh god.
It's just like they have to account for like lowest common denominator, and that's Alex.
Well, now he's been immortalized.
He wears that badge with pride, though. He's like, I know I'm incompetent. He's like, I'm glad to be a game dev's nightmare. Like, oh, I love that man.
Why aren't you using your orbit slots? Because I like crafts better.
Yeah, like he's gonna have a blast with Cold Steel. He'll be over the moon.
Oh, I have heard some things about Cold Steel.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
I know a bit of a paradigm shift happens between arts and crafts.
More of a bit, yeah. It's
Well, it's more so in Cold Steel. It's basically more so focused on doing crafts than arts, basically.
Yeah, I would.
That's
say
what
that.
I hear, which I would say everything before that is.
I mean, I think the crafts I prefer. Like even knowing, even after Knack teaching me a bit more about orbits, I was like, yeah, I think I still am more of a crafts person.
It was
Trails.
It was a hard
both.
It was a hard shift for me because I preferred arts like vastly over crafts. I would still use crafts when they were necessary, of course, and like try to keep a generally good balance of them. But like Cold Steel beat arts out of me, where I'm just like, I'll use arts when like instead of crafts being the niche situation, like arts became the niche situation. Like. Thing to use.
I think my favorite part about Trails I've only played one so far, but I think my favorite thing is like you could make Estelle and Joshua whoever you wanted to be, basically. So I don't know, like I'm probably a baby with how I made them. I just made Estelle like a healing tank, and I just made Joshua like a hard-hitting cannon.
I mean, that's actually technically considered to be the optimal builds for those two. I always made Estelle a blaster caster. In the first game, I made her kind of a red mage, just could do everything. But then I started dedicating her to blasting, and then Joshua, I would always just max speed, max attack.
You taught me the fucking the strat of like upping Joshua's attack, and then that screen wave move.
Oh,
yeah,
Joshua's like Evil Eye, insane.
Yeah. I also found it funny how the final gameplay segment of me in Sky 1 was the worst character gameplay-wise out of all of them. Beats the final boss, and he's the last one living.
Oh yeah, you brought Zin, right?
Yeah, I brought Zin.
Oh man.
Bro, Zin is base, honestly. Better than that. I'm not gonna say that because y'all will actually kill me. We'll save that for later. Let's.
Eiyuden hates a very popular character.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of them.
Immensely popular character.
Like,
yeah.
I was in a server and I'm like, I don't like character name, and they were like, oh god, why?
I'll out you
Why?
right now.
they were almost like that. They're like, why? They said like.
We're not gonna say who the character is, but I will say he's blonde. He's a bard. He's voiced by Troy Baker in the Sky trilogy.
Wait, hold on. They got Edward from Final Fantasy IV in the Trails series?
They got Snow from Final Fantasy.
No, this
13
guy.
in the trailer series.
Now hold up. This guy is way cooler than both of those characters. So y'all shut up.
I'd rather take Snow than this character, if I'm gonna be honest.
If I'm to rank those three, Olivier, Edward, Snow.
I'm being serious. I'd rather take Snow because Snow is more likable.
I'm not having played.
It's a lie.
Having played 13-2, all of the last year, it's relatable. We gotta stick it to the theme. Snow sucks in 13-2. I'd rather take Olivier. I didn't
even like him that much in 13-1.
I liked him in 13-1. To be fair though, I like literally all the characters in 13-1, and I just let people call me crazy.
You like Vanille?
Okay. Vanille is actually straight up like the best character. I'm not even kidding when I say that. She's incredible. I love her. Hope, also one of the best characters. People are like, he's whiny. He's whiny. Minor spoiler alert for the first hour of Final Fantasy 13, right? All right. Yeah, he's whiny, but his mom's dead. So what do you expect?
I will admit to being a Hope hater back in the day. I'm a lot more neutral on him now.
My problem.
I do think his post development is good. I think they drag some stuff out a little too long for me.
I need to say talking about Trails in the Sky, not Final Fantasy 13.
I think it's probably time to move on from Trails. We've been talking about it for a minute.
Trails is good.
We'll talk about has any closing thoughts?
No. It's good. The ending put me in shock, as that can validate for.
Yep.
I cried. I cried.
I could see why someone cried at it.
I've cried to every Trails game.
I think it's great. I think it's great with some quibbles I have with it. I will say it's a great game. I'm definitely excited to play SC, and we'll get to Final Fantasy 13 next year. Don't worry, I have a lot to say on that game. But I mean, we can either talk about Tales of the Abyss next, or I could talk about Cult of the Lamb. I mean,
Tales of the Abyss I can go through pretty quick if you want me to just knock that out.
Yeah, you could just knock that out right away if you want. Yeah.
So that actually is another one of those games that I wanted to play for a long time, even longer than Trails, in fact. It was the first Tales game I ever became interested in, way back, because in 2008, I saw this mashup video of people took the opening animation and redid it with FF7 characters, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool opening. What's that from? Oh, Tales of the Abyss. Maybe I'll play that someday. And then I finally picked up the 3DS version a year ago, and then I started it towards the end of 2022, and I finished it in 2023, and it was good, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be.
I hear I'm not all in on the Tales franchise because I've only played an hour or two of Symphonia and wasn't really vibing with it. But from Tales fans I've heard, Abyss is one of the better ones to start with.
This is generally considered to be one of the top.
The only five I know people say start with Symphonia, Abyss, Grace's F, I think, Exilia, and Vesperia. Yeah.
I didn't think Grace's F was that popular with them.
I mean, I have Symphonia, Vesperia, and Exilia. I do want to play Exilia this year.
Real quick,
Arise.
I actually much prefer Symphonia to Abyss, which is not something I expected going into either game.
You can talk about Rise. You can talk about Rise.
Symphonia, because I'm just part of Symphonia was like, oh man, this is kind of just like, it's a JRPG junk food in a way, but I really liked it. And I'm like, is this what the Tales series is? Because this would be like a great, just kind of like, play in between when I want just a more like old school JRPG experience. And
it's the Taco Bell of JRPG.
I mean, and that's not to say, like, Symphonia has one of my favorite JRPG characters of all time in it. My boy, Zelos Wilder. I would give him a smooch on the lips. Anyways, so with Abyss, I was really excited to jump in. The story is better in this one. I had two big issues with it. One of them, I do think, unfortunately, comes down to the hardware I played it on, which I did go for the 3DS version.
The 3DS is the same graphical power as like an SNES combined with the N64, but the N64 is like downgraded to hell.
The performance was fine. I didn't mind it too much. It was 30 FPS, whereas I believe the original was 60, but the original had load times. This one didn't. I felt the screen crunch really bad. It was the big one for me. That made like I just wasn't enjoying like longer sessions of it, and it's a game that felt really padded. There's a lot of like beats in Abyss where it'll be like, all right, now go back to this town, talk to the mayor. Now go back to that town, talk to the mayor. Pretty much after you get the airship, I feel like the game kind of shrinks in scope, which isn't really what should happen when you get an airship in one of those types of games. And you get the airship like pretty early. It does have some really good story beats. It has some pretty middling story beats. The combat is fun. The Tales games have pretty solid, just like action RPG combat. But it was for a game that, for a while I had kind of like built up as, I think I'm gonna really love this game when I get around to it. It was sadly not that. I still enjoyed my time with it, but
I think it would have been better. I don't know. I think it would have been better if you just played it on a PS2 emulator at that point, because I hear you had problems with it.
But you know what? The next day, after I beat Tales of the Abyss, I started a different RPG. And that changed the rest of 2023 for me. Turtles in the sky, baby!
Let's go! Tales of the Abyss is actually the Tales game I was most interested in, but it's so hard to get a hold of.
I'm gonna assume that PS2 and 3DS copies alike are pretty rare on the market.
When I got the 3DS copy, I had seen one at a retro game shop for about like $40, and I'm like, all right, this is probably the market is probably going to go up on this thing. Let's just buy it now.
Hey, it's cheaper. It's cheaper than Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright.
I've seen PS2 copies at retro shops before for like $50-$60. It's not It's not as expensive of a retro game as you'd think. At least last I checked, it might have gone up.
Hold on, I'm gonna check at my local water hole.
Well, you can get the anime for $30, and I know that's what everyone was looking for.
Yeah, I used complete copy of on PS2 is like $48, and I used complete on 3DS is $43.
Yeah,
so I think the 3DS version sold better.
It's surprisingly affordable, at least for that type of game. I will say that. The opening is really good. That thing still kicks ass.
It's good.
You guys were talking. It was pretty good.
The opening's good. I think I prefer Berseria's opening.
I don't remember Berseria's opening.
I don't know. I just like the song of Berseria more.
I watched all the the Tales openings at one point to decide what Tales game I wanted to play based on the opening.
That's so good.
Trails of the Abyss.
Listen, all right. What is it? Tales of Innocence, the DS one. The song in that opening is so unreasonably good, and that like the characters. This looks like a schlocky, like by the number story, but that song is so good.
So funny. I played a little bit of a Tales game last year as well. I played Arise, and
You were not fond of it from what I remember.
wasn't, and I'm worried because I literally own Vesperia, Berseria, Symphonia, 2 of the other ones. I don't know. I own a lot of the Tales games, and I bought a bunch.
Symphonia.
I bought a bunch.
I will vouch for that one. It is a very crunchy and old game, so there is that going for it. But maybe I just played it at the right time in my life. But when I played through it, it was exactly what the doctor ordered. I was like, oh, all right. I started a second run right after finishing it.
I don't like the writing in Arise. That's kind of my biggest problem. The gameplay's okay. I think it's fine. Nothing special to me. But the writing was like painful to get through. And there's like a mechanic where you reach a certain area, it'll prompt you to hit a button, and you can like see little campfire talk between the party members. And I was like, oh sure, yeah, I'll look at it a few times. And it's just filler stuff, but they lock certain abilities behind it, and so I was just like, I don't want to deal with this, so I kind of just dropped the game.
I know my friends have liked Arise so far, from what they told me. So I'm kind of concerned. I'll get my hopes up on it.
That kind of stuff I know is something of a series staple, like the little skits between the characters. Both Symphonia and Abyss had those. I found they vary by quality based on which one. Yeah. You can skip them, thankfully, if you don't like them.
Yeah, I just didn't like the characters. I just really didn't like the characters.
Is the story better than Scarlet and Nexus?
I played Scarlet and Nexus for all of like 2 hours. Don't remember anything about the story, but yeah.
I played like half of the game and I was like, God, I'm bored out of my fucking mind.
Dude, Arise's story is so boring. Literally nothing happens.
Arise was interesting because I just remember hearing when it first came out, people were in love with it. They're like, yes.
I think it won best RPG at the game.
And then very quickly, I saw it just seemed like there was once people hit a certain point in the game, it just like soured.
I remember Tales of the Arise won game, not Game of the Year. Fuck that shit. No, best RPG at the Game Awards. Right? Yeah. I just remember that, and then no one's talking about it anymore.
So one of my buddies was obsessed with Arise for a long time, so I was like, I gotta check this out. And granted, I waited a while to actually get to it. But when I did, he was super excited. He's super happy. He's like, you gotta let me know what you think. I played it for like 5 hours. Like, this is cheeks. I'm sorry, this is cheeks. So I was looking it up, and I was like, okay, is it like other JRPGs where it's just like, is it a slow start? I'm like, when does Tales of Arise get good? You know, just kind of looking around. And everyone was like, you're in the good part. And I'm like, oh!
It starts good and then falls off, is from what I know the general consensus. So if you were hating it at the beginning...
I was just like...
Bro,
it was...
But you know what? Maybe if you played through it, you would get to what everyone considers the bad part, and you'd be like, wait, hold up.
I mean, it sounds like if he played it more, he would consider it like one of his least favorite games ever.
One of the biggest problems I have with the game is there is no such thing as subtlety at all whatsoever, and that's a big gripe I have with a lot of stories.
Maybe I won't recommend Symphonia to you.
Okay.
Oh no.
Because
maybe Tales just isn't his thing.
I just don't like when just trust your audience that they have a brain, please. I don't want you to like show a scene and then be like now I'm gonna explain what that scene. Like, oh well, that just happened. Like, shut up. Just let me like think. Give me space to think.
That's some like toddler preschool show shit right there.
It's aggravating to me. Sorry, my dropout English major persona came out. I hate when things cannot just let something be and just let you think about it, or just like trust that you understand what's going on. It's like, come on, don't insult my intelligence. I know how to read. I can understand what's happening. Ugh. Anyways, that's Tails.
I am some rails better than Tails.
Retweet.
Oh, you're retweeting right now? I am interested to play Tails, because I do want to play some of the Tails games in my backlog. I'm more interested in Exilia because it's like the only PS3 exclusive Tails game, I think. I don't know if Grace's F is on PC or not.
You know, it's like potato chips. You just gotta find the flavor you like. None of them are really good for you, but there are some good potato chips out there. That's my thought on the Tails series.
That sounds like Pokemon.
Well.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. I'm gonna save my voice for that.
We have a perfect segue. You gotta go right into it.
Fine. You want to talk about why I fucking hate Scarlet? Let's do it then.
Did
Okay.
Fernando play Scarlet Violet?
No, he played Brilliant Diamond. He played Brilliant Diamond this year, though.
Okay, so I guess
he can talk about it if he wants to.
Wait, what?
because I actually also played through that last year. Too.
We made a perfect segue to a Pokemon talk. So do you want to talk about Brilliant Diamond?
Oh yeah, BDSP, or as it should have been called, BDSM. Yeah, it's a joke. Wow.
We all played this game. We all agree it wasn't that good. I think.
I think the Brilliant Diamond was alright for what it was worth, but quite frankly, it just feels barren. Like, this is what happens when you decide to remake Diamond and Pearl specifically, and not really add on anything of real worth to make it justifiable. Like, you know, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, they already got fuck ton of flack for remaking Ruby and Sapphire and not Emerald, most obviously seen with the lamenting hanging off the Battle Frontier. But, you know, they actually did do a whole bunch of new things with Oras in general, that it felt like it was ultimately small potatoes. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, however, well, outside of the Underground being revamped to allow you to catch Pokemon from outside the Diamond and Pearl regional decks, and even can be your main source of catching Pokemon throughout the national deck, stars included, there really isn't any new content and to speak of in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl that'll get people crazy. It's like, oh wow, you can now catch previous legendaries in what used to be the park where you transferred Pokemon from the GBA games. Neat. Except you gotta go on a grind fest to get the materials needed to be able to even get one shot to each of these legendaries. Thank God for save scumming. And, you know, I guess by that logic, it also means that you're not locked out of Regigigas, but is that really what we're gonna go with?
Are you really gonna go out of your way to use Regigigas on your team?
I'm so sick of them just doing like post-game legendary hunts.
I'm also just gonna say this right now. The music, the remixes in general just aren't all that great. In fact, once I beat the game, I ended up finding a DS sounds key item, and I turned that shit on because I am not listening to how they butchered Giratina's theme in BDSP. My God, what did they do? And they don't even play it. They don't even play it for Giratina himself.
Yeah, Arceus did a great job with the.
Yeah, Arceus has like a banger soundtrack, honestly.
They didn't even play for Giratina himself. You know, in the Wayward Cave. It's only the shadowy origin form Giratina that you find at Ramadas Park, where, you know, being it just grants you the Grisius Orb. And even then, I found out that even a level 88 Roserade that knows Dazzling Gleam was more than enough to take care of it.
I just find Brilliant Diamond to just be so disappointing, honestly. It's just...
It should have been a remake of Platinum, straight up. Like, they did not do anything new with the story to justify remaking Diamond and Pearl specifically. It really should have been Platinum. In fact,
you didn't even have Looker
was my first experience to this story of Diamond and Pearl. Before then, my only Sinnoh experience was Platinum, where, you know, the story was actually a decent bit more interesting. I mean, specifically with how they handled Cyrus.
Yeah, I mean, Cyrus is actually a character in Platinum.
Yeah.
Which cannot
Yeah.
be said of Diamond and Pearl.
Also, and one thing about the post-game legendary hunt, they don't even bring back themes of those legendaries from past games, which absolutely sucks because that was one of the best things
Oh, really?
about the
Even
post-game
Oris did
legendary
that.
hunt in Oras and the Ultra games.
I just think compared to Oras, like, the Pokemon Company just can't do remakes worth giving a damn in terms of extra content or new content, and it just makes me terrified of a Gen 5 remake.
Which you know is gonna happen because there's a remix of the Gen 5 Trainer Battle theme in the Scarvio DLC.
Scarvio DLC has a bunch of Gen 5 love, and I'm like...
it takes place in Unova.
Oh,
like,
so it's
Blueberry Academy is actually just straight up, it's in Unova.
Well, it's you're on like a boat, right? Like outside of it, or is it actually like a building?
I think it's like an island.
I don't care
Unova.
about spoilers
It's
personally. I don't know about the rest.
I'm
I'm probably never gonna play it.
Do you guys remember in Black and White 2, I believe it was, when you fly away, you can get that shiny Haxorus?
I never did it, but
I know what you're
Yes.
talking about. Yeah.
Need
That
to reserve,
area?
I think.
That area's in the DLC.
Oh, neat. A shiny
neat.
Haxorus there.
Can you catch a
No.
shiny Haxorus there? That's
Can
a
you get a shiny
failure.
axe? You?
Not that I know of. I haven't played the DLC myself. I've just seen that type of stuff. I can look it up, but
I'm
I'm
quite interested.
It was already caught. That's why it's not there.
Yeah, because the Black and White trainer got it already. Or Black and White
Exactly.
team, sorry. But
Exactly.
perfect segue into Scarlet and Violet because good god.
Actually, I just want to say one thing about BDSP real quick before we move.
Go right ahead.
I really like what they did with the Elite Four. I wish the rest of the game was like that. I actually had a lot of fun with the just giving them some competitive items and stuff, and it made me think, man, I wish this game let you turn the EXP share off because Sinnoh was not balanced around having an EXP share on.
It literally wasn't.
Also, I wish you could turn affection bonuses off, but that's
Okay, yeah, that's
general.
That's something
These are
that
my
they
general
really shouldn't.
series
That's something they really shouldn't have
criticisms.
included, because that skews the odds just a wee bit too much in your favor or against you if you're legendary hunting.
6 and 7, at least let them be optional. You didn't have to
Wait,
engage with
oh,
that system.
And you want to know something? You want to know something that absolutely pissed me off? You want to know something that really soured me on BDSP? Fully
What?
completing the national decks. And this is where
Can you even
I
do
talk
that?
about my renewed hatred for Spinda. Well, not renewed, it's more so just newfound hatred. Words, they fail me. Anyways, you want to know the absolute funniest thing about Spinda? It is... Okay, so, what's the name of that mechanic where you bring a device into the grass and you try to see what Pokemon lines up? Is it called a swarm?
A swarm? Oh, is it like when the grass is rustling?
Yeah,
basically?
let's just call it a swarm for the rest of this. Someone's gonna correct us anyways if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Anyways, Spinda is a swarm exclusive Pokemon, meaning you have a 1 in 30 something chance of actually being able to get at it in a given day. On Route 227 specifically. Which means you're basically playing RNG God, and no, the Grand Underground cannot save you. Ever. Spinda cannot be caught there, and, for most Pokemon, that would pretty much be the end of it. Hell, you could just use Pokemon Bank, which they had to patch compatibility for BDSP for long after the games were released. So, for most of the national decks, whenever I couldn't be bothered to, try and get a certain Pokemon, I would always try to see what I had. In the 3DS games and Sword and Shield, if it was missing from the Brilliant Diamond National Dex, I just transfer it over, and then that was the end of that. Spinda, on the other hand, because of coding bullshit, cannot be transferred to or from Pokemon Home at all. Like, straight up. If it's BDSP, Spinda cannot be transferred to it or from it. Ever. And because it's incredibly rare, you're not going to really find anyone on the Wonder Trade Station and who will even be able to throw one out.
Oh yeah, doesn't BDSP not have a GTS?
Does it not?
It does now, I think.
Now.
Because
So it has the so it does the thing that most modern games does. They patch it later.
okay,
Yeah.
because I know in
Okay,
general,
actually,
I think
BDSP in general had a problem with, quote unquote, patching it later, and it was to the point where he decided to patch out the glitches that, well, okay, not so much the glitches, but more so just patching out the locations for Shaman and Darkrai so that people couldn't gain access to them, without the event keys. And in one of those patches, they did include Arceus, but only if you had save data for, a fully completed save file on Legends Arceus, so really what's the point?
I think that's really funny.
Just play the better game at that point.
But yeah, trying to get Spinda sucks. And, if you're one of those lucky few that managed to catch it within a few days of unlocking the Swarm system, then Lady Luck was on your side because she sure as shit wasn't on mine.
Can I talk about why Scarlet sucks now?
Go ahead.
Okay. I had no faith in Scarlet whatsoever when I saw that first trailer. It looked like dog shit. And there's something interesting. So, and it doesn't help that Sword and Shield basically broke my faith with Pokemon, and Brilliant Diamond secured that because my brother gave me his copy after he played it for an hour and said he didn't want it. But, so, and then I made a video about my problems with modern Pokemon. Then one of my friends said, you really should have played Scarlet or Violet when you made that video. I'm like, fuck, he was right. And so, luckily, that same day, I found a copy of Scarlet for $30 used. So I didn't support Game Freak. So
Oh yeah, I also got my copy of Brilliant Diamond secondhand.
So I bought it, played it, recorded it, made a video on it, and that video is outdated because there's more things I don't like about that game. Because Scarlet and Violet is a game even just playing it recently, just trying to find the post-game legendaries in the base game was just so boring. Like, I don't feel like the core Pokemon is enjoyable enough, I feel. Like, just battling and catching, it's fine, it's good enough. But just these post-game things in Scarlet and Violet, it's just like, oh, go to this certain area to, like, pull out a stick or something. I don't even know what they fucking were. And apparently, I went to every location I could find online, and apparently I was missing one. I was like, it's not fucking worth it. I'm too fucking bored doing this shit. It's just also the fact that, like, the new stuff they added it's a good idea, I feel. It's not executed properly. Gym tests, they're either breaking the game or they're too fucking boring. Like, I didn't enjoy any of the gym tests aside from maybe the water one, just because of that battle against his apprentice alone. Like, I didn't enjoy the rapid. I don't even like even the gym leaders are just so I had to challenge myself with this game because I was 10 levels below. And I still wasn't having that much fun. I think they should have. I think raiding the team star bases was boring because all you do is just throw out your Pokemon. Is to kill them with a few HP loss, and that's it. But I did find the team boss raid, like fighting the boss members, actually pretty fun. Though I will give them that. And then there's the not trials. Fuck, what are they? The Titan Pokemon. Interesting story-wise, I don't give a shit about these battles.
Wait, they got Titans just like in Sonic Frontiers?
2022 of November, the game where two unfinished messes were brought to this world. But the only thing keeping me from playing Scarlet and Violet was the story, if I'm being honest. 'Cause I honestly like the story in Scarlet and Violet. It's actually well, except from Nemona. Nemona's a piece of shit. Nemona, I could care less.
Oh, I love Nemona.
I didn't like Nemona. Her thing was like, I wanna be stronger so I can beat you. I'm like, this is every fucking rival.
Well, no.
She's already the champion.
Already a champion.
She wants you to be stronger so she can go all out. That's her.
I'm pretty sure Nemona's shtick is that she's basically at the top and completely lonely.
She's doing a new game plus run while you're doing a new game
stronger, just so that she has someone she can call a friend, even if it's it's just via battling, you know. People
Yeah.
are socially awkward.
Yeah, I think people are way too hard on Nimona. I don't think she did anything wrong. Obviously, she's not like peak writing, but I don't think she does anything that warrants hating. And I do think she's different enough from all the other.
I don't
rivals
hate-
that,
I don't-
that,
I don't-
that I enjoyed her.
I think with the exception of Gladion, she's my favorite rival post Gen 5.
I think I would. I'd agree with that.
I don't hate her. I just find her uninteresting compared to Penny and Arvin.
She's probably my top 3 rivals, actually. I didn't
Wow.
find Penny that
Yeah, I wasn't nuts about Penny either.
captivating. Arvin was really good, of course.
Arvin's good, but best written character of 2022 Japanese Game Awards? No. He just has a compelling. He just has a compelling story. That's it, and that
Yeah.
story is carried into the finale. The
Not
finale
dog,
is actually really good in Scarlet and Violet. Honestly, like just seeing the area you couldn't explore before, and like the whole the professor's backstory is honestly kind of depressing.
It's
Oh yeah, the professors are robots. It makes them better.
It just make your professors not real. Simple.
I mean,
Or-
the fact that, like, I don't know, I was a little surprised when the concept of death was properly acknowledged in a Pokemon game.
Yeah. Like
So-
it didn't do anything like it wasn't anything crazy like, oh, Pokemon's dark now. It was just like oh yeah, it's just acknowledging death and going past like
Know that in the
saying
manga,
it exists.
they show an Arbok got cut in half, and it's really dark because I can't like kids media, and yes, I can justify to people that it's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just acknowledging the after effects of like death, on what that does to people. I'm like, that's really neat that they tackled that.
I don't know
It
if
was-
I'm like.
It was a twist I didn't see coming, which I never thought I would say in a Pokemon game.
I'm good. I'm same. I was like, oh, it's the professor. She wants us to come to Area Zero, and then like you learn that she's not alive, and she's just and she made
So
a
the
robot.
professor
and-
being evil coming when we never met the professor in person, I'm like,
Mhm.
all right, something strange is happening here.
It's probably the best use of a twist villain in Pokemon.
Yeah, no, I mean it avoided what Sword and Shield.
Oh fuck,
I was-
Sword and Shield! I do not want to get into that. Honestly,
I was like debating between like, oh, Chairman Rose or Lysander would like to have a word.
oh, Lysander's also bad.
I
Fuck
actually
him as
think
well.
I actually think Chairman Rose is worse than Lysander,
Oh, 100%.
and Lysander
Lysander
is not
just
good.
They're both not
To be
good.
clear.
But Chairman Lysander is bad, yes. But Chairman Rose pisses me off because it's like, what was the draft on this man? Honestly,
Chairman Rose was actually just incoherent. He's literally just an insane man. That is it.
Lysander, at least X and Y doesn't try to convince you that his mission is like righteous or that
Yeah.
he's
Chairman Rose is like, oh, I have the support of the champion, but I have to wait for his battle. 5 minutes later, you backstab me, you motherfucker! I'm like, what the fuck?
energy crisis in like 10,000 years, and we gotta solve it right now.
Yeah.
We gotta solve it right now, and we're gonna have the most like Sephiroth sounding battle music on the in all of Pokemon. I'm like,
Oh, I do not like his battle theme.
his battle themes are good. Honestly, that's
Just
like one of the
because of
things
how
that-
tonally dissonant it is with like everything that is happening.
the villains are so stupid in Sword and Shield. I want to like shoot them
funny.
personally. It's awful.
Oh, I have a bunch of pictures of Chairman Rose on my phone because one of my friends hates Chairman Rose with a fiery passion, so I would just daily send him different pictures of Chairman Rose.
The one good scene is like when you like run into him incognito and he's in like a tracksuit and you see his gut hanging out.
It's so funny.
That's like a great sequence.
That's
everything
like-
else of
that's-
everything else of him sucks.
it's so bad. But no. Also, one of my biggest problems with Scarlet and Violet, open world Pokemon game. Yeah, I don't see that honestly. It's just one big, like it doesn't even feel like a region. Honestly, it just feels like one it's like one big, one section of Unova. I feel.
I think the biggest problem that Scarlet and Violet has is the towns and cities just don't feel like actual places. They don't like they're not real. They're just kind of dressing. I think because I think they did nail the open world aspect of it because it does feel very open and free. There's a lot you can do and a lot of places you can go, but the towns just don't exist.
I also there's that woman that walks around in the one water town. She's got like a quillfish following her, and she says, "Isn't this convenient?" And like, I think that's
but she might be gone because
whatever that means.
Yeah, she might be gone though, because Game Freak patched the game to remove some NPCs to make sure the game runs better. Didn't run better. That's also one of my biggest problems with Scarlet and Violet. Every fix they try to fix, and I say fix in quotations, there's another problem. Fucking game-breaking problems. I'm like, why? Just why? I don't have the problem with open world Pokemon. Legends Arceus proves open world Pokemon can work. It's just that when you have you're working on Legends Arceus. Well, you're probably working on Legends Arceus as well while you're working on Scarlet and Violet. You have not enough time to see this project through.
Should not have done.
Yes, like I'm sure the DLC. Obviously, people are like, "Oh, the second DLC is great." Like, but haven't played it yet. Which I'm just like, please, just work on games with the you're gonna be rushed to hell and back. It's one of the problems. It's one of the problems with Pokemon. It's too fucking popular, but just work with game. Like, if you need to work on something else, I'm not opposed to other developers making Pokemon games because Bandai Namco made new Pokemon Snap and stuff like that. Just do what you need to do to make the next mainline Pokemon game worth it and not have people ask for refunds on opening day like what happened with Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, because I honestly I think Scarlet and Violet was an absolute blast, through and through, but it just ran like garbage.
I've seen some friends have their save files crashed on them after that second update.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my god, Sonic Colors Ultimate moment.
It literally is a Sonic Colors Ultimate moment, honestly.
It was a game that I enjoyed a lot when I finished it. As I've sat on it, I will admit it has soured a bit. I do still like it. I definitely like it more than Gen 8. I can say
I'm gonna be real. All this talk about Scarlet and Violet is just telling me that this had the potential to be one of the best Pokemon games of all time. The next Gen 5 even. And of course, the increasing costs of 3D development and have once again decided to buy Game Freak in the ass. That's especially with, Pokemon being a victim of its own success. And has produced the buggiest, glitchiest, and pretty much most unpolished Pokemon game ever made.
It's difficult to say because for it to really reach that title, I do think the game would need a considerably bigger scope than what it had. So it is hard to say that, at the very least, I don't think it running well would have solved all of its issues. I think that's a pretty big issue.
It needed better visuals.
It needed better, everything.
Seriously, look at Sword and Shield for just a moment.
At least Sword and Shield had
No, you know what? Look at Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, the
Literally.
best looking mainline Pokemon game on the Switch.
I love that game.
Legends Arceus is right there, Knack.
No. Have you played Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee?
Yes, I played Eevee. It's one of my favorite Pokemon games.
The aesthetics of that game are so much stronger than Legends Arceus.
Yeah. Legends Arceus has this constant fog that's kind of there. The entire game always looks a little deep fried.
Legends Arceus, in a lot of ways, is just as empty as Scarlet Violet, but it's got that really strong, kind of Well, I don't know. Okay, not really strong.
It has that
strong enough central hub.
Yeah.
To at least feel more alive, and because of the better rendering. Which Legends still has its poppin' issues too, but it does have better draw distance because it's zones instead of one continuous map.
Yeah.
But I think that game is still very compromised visually.
Still a banger.
Yeah. The game's still a banger for sure.
I think Scarlet and Violet could have worked, but they definitely had too much ambition with little time. That's why I would say it's an over-ambitious mess.
I think Scarlet and Violet did work in terms of like gameplay and stuff. I think that it could have done a little bit more, specifically again, like I said, with towns. Maybe a few more areas to look around in, and fixing up the gym trials.
I would have loved more proper like scaling instead of just like everyone has like a fixed level. Just you might follow the beaten course. You might.
I also don't like.
Stronger.
Yeah.
I also don't like the fact that you have to. Hold on a second. Sorry. I also don't like the fact that you have to do certain things to explore more of the world. I'm just like, if you're saying it's an open road, let it all be open. Have the Pokemon scale to your level. Well, with some exceptions, obviously.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, because I like having something else to kind of look forward to, like running around like, oh, there's like a bunch of little islands over there. I want to know what's over there. Okay, what do I have to do to get over there?
You have to,
and I like having that thing to look forward to.
Yeah. If anything, I would say that's one of the bigger issues is that if that could have been taken further, right?
Yeah.
Like the best feeling in a game is like, oh, I got this new movement ability. Oh, there's like X, X, and X over there that I can go to now that the game has been like dangling in front of me this entire time.
Yeah. I don't want it to be something of like, oh, cool, I have this movement ability, now I can get around the world easier. I want it to be like, well, that, and have that thing of like, now I can get over here too, so it's not just like you're hiding quality of life behind a checkpoint.
Yeah.
There's more reason to it.
I can understand that. Yeah, it's probably just a me thing, honestly.
That's fair.
But no, Scarlet and Violet, after replaying some of it and thinking about it for the past half year, I think is honestly my new least favorite Pokemon game.
Even below Sword and Shield?
Even Sword and Shield is not far behind. I'll say that. Like it. No, if I had a Pokemon tier list, E tier, both E tier. I don't like them both. I just don't think Sword and Shield has some aspects I can say I overall enjoyed unironically. I will say that. I can't think of any in Scarlet and Violet on the top of my head. Even the music, I'm not a big fan of in Scarlet, except for like the Team Star themes.
Okay, but Scarlet and Violet has the Dunsparce in it, and
yeah, the Dunsparce is just the Dunsparce is just bigger Dunsparce.
Yeah, and that's great.
No, it's not.
Awesome.
It's not.
That's what we as a society need if we're gonna overcome our demons.
I agree 100%.
Oh my god, I'm a literal dumb fox.
Oh, and don't even get me started on how much I love Orthworm.
Orthworm of all Pokemon,
dude. I didn't think much of Orthworm at first, and then your obsession with it. Every time I look at it now, I just get a little chuckle.
I loved him the moment I saw his design, and then I found out he had the Shed Tail strats, and then I loved him even more.
That's so
if
funny.
you go from Smoliv to the Dunsparce to Orthworm, what is wrong with our Pokemon society?
Smoliv is my best friend.
Oh my god. We need to stop talking about Pokemon or I'm gonna have a fucking blood vessel pop.
Well, you know what? So are we moving on from Pokemon? Because if so, okay, well then I am gonna demand that quick 5-minute break to go do
we can talk about something else while he does that.
I'll take that 5-minute break too. I'll be right back.
Alright. Let's just take a 5-minute break, yeah. I think we're just waiting for
you know.
I'm back.
Okay, 5 minutes are over.
You're waiting for who now? Nobody. All right, I've ranked all the Pokemon games. I'm gonna get a lot of hate now.
Oh, show me. I'm gonna see if it's worthy of putting it in.
Yeah. Oh, I also put in the VC chat the what's it called?
Oh yeah, I saw the
nature
comparison.
Preserve.
Yeah, it looks the same.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. All right, I'm gonna get so much hate for this. Have it also be noted, I did make this in like 5 minutes, so if you hate me, I will change my opinion so I don't get the hate.
The only really spicy one I know is that you're a Gen 4 hater.
Gen 4 is literally dead last.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
The-
Scarvio and S. What the fuck?
I loved Scarlet and Violet. The tiers aren't ranked, by the way. They're just I just plopped them in.
I know you love Legends Arceus and X and Y. I know
Yeah.
that.
Legends Arceus.
Coliseum and A is a little concerning, I feel, because that's definitely like the one
It's
don't
nostalgia.
think-
I'm not
Okay,
gonna lie. It's nostalgia.
that explains a lot then.
Realistically, it's like a B tier.
4 and F. Diamond and Pearl and F.
Fuji Diamond and Pearl is pretty good.
This is worthy of being in the video. This is worthy of being in the video. I'll say that.
Oh, send your hate at KibbsMcGibbs on Twitter.
Link in the description.
Yeah, let's go.
Kibbs's interesting opinions. Let's call it that.
Oh
Okay.
man.
Okay, so do you want to go over a quick game or do you want to go into another series?
I feel like we should do something that will give Protector a second to talk. 'cause I really-
Okay, Protector. You played Vampire Survivors.
Oh yeah, Vampire Survivors. Let's talk about that one. It was pretty much the same deal as Eiyuden and Chronicle Rising. An Xbox Game Pass mission had it. Something I had to play. And I decided, why not? I'll give it a go, and it pretty much just spiraled out of control. Oh, Vampire Survivors is a Castlevania-inspired roguelike game. Where, well, as the title says, you survive. Strangely enough, there's no vampires though, so yeah, and they do play it up in advertising quite a bit. Even with the DLC, there's no vampires. There's all manner of creatures. You got your bats, you got your skeletons, you got your werewolves, you got the milk-producing minotaurs, you got witches, you got evil caterpillar cakes based on the ones you'd see in the UK. Basically any manner of fantasy enemy you can think of. It's something that's gonna show up at one point or another. You can even find various versions of Death himself, which can all fuse together to become, I don't know, Super Ultra Omega Death or something. There's a lot of entries in the bestiary that'll tell you everything you need to know.
Super Ultra Omega sounds like a fucking Dragon Ball fusion form.
Well, not really. Because then the words would actually be fused together. But yeah, it's pretty much as simple as this. You pick a character, they've got some, unique attributes. It's like, for example, Antonio Bellapese. He's gained some extra attack power every, 10 levels. That was maybe 20, I forget. And he starts out with the trademark whip. It's not the vampire killer, don't get any ideas, but yeah, from now on, you spend your time leveling up to acquire new weapons and power-up items, and even upgrade them further and further. And should you have a fully upgraded weapon, and sometimes the fully upgraded power-up item in question, you can even evolve it should you run into a treasure chest that's laying up on a run. And oh yeah, that's another thing. Certain tough enemies will drop either a very large amount of experience to make leveling up a bit easier, but most of the time they'll bring in a treasure chest, which can give you 1 to 5 level ups of anything it chooses. And the only way to affect this in your favor is by leveling up your luck stat with the Clover item, assuming you've unlocked it. And this is where Vampire Survivors gets its really addicting gameplay loop from. You're gonna die fairly early on with, just basic bitch Antonio. You can probably get some decent gear, but it's gonna catch up to you, and you will die. But that's where the magic comes in, and because then you can use the coins you've accumulated to buy extra power-up has, stat boosting power-ups in the shop that will permanently affect every character. And take a look at what else you've unlocked to see how to improve your run. You could, get stuff like Garlic, which is very much excellent for dealing with smaller threats across the board. This is a point where it's usually one I tend to gun for. And then you can even find random unlockable characters in crypts. It's, not a single one of them are vampires, but one of them is another Bella piece that wields a different kind of whip called the Ventos Gacro or whatever it was. Yeah, there's a lot of content. Like, if you take a look at a list of in-game achievements, you'll be surprised at just how much there is. There's for stuff like surviving a run for long enough of a given character, gain a certain weapon up to a certain level, unlocking certain fusions. They unlock all manner of rewards that further enhance the game's replay value, and that's really where it shines. Means the replay value. And hell, not so long ago, it even got an update that allowed for co-op with friends, so you too can bring in, free extra victims, willing participants, engage in surviving the vampires. Don't expect the round to last forever unless you've unlocked a setting that does enable that, because around the half-hour mark, a unique enemy by the name of Red Death will show up to pretty much instantly kill you if he comes into contact with you. But this is where the true magic happens, because there is a way to kill him legitimately. Requires doing a bit of unlocking, but eventually you can get a key item that can, point you in the direction of 4 unique power-up items that when you have all of them leveled up alongside maxing out the levels of the Clock Lancet and Laurel, will provide you with the tools necessary to take on Red Death without getting destroyed as soon as he shows up. But if you manage to kill at least one of him, because there'll be another spawning once every extra minute, White Death will come in after a few bell chimes being on the screen. There is nothing you can do to get away from that. Ever. Not even having extra revives on hand will save you. But on top of that, there's even a bunch of neat little secrets that's hidden throughout the game that can do something as simple as unlocking a quirky new character. Like a tree that gets the Soul Eater weapon, but suitably can only move if you've bought movement upgrades. Otherwise, that thing is going at a snail's pace as you bought the movement and buffs from the shop, and will just straight up not move if you haven't bought anything. There's a fair share of joke characters and uber powerful characters comes with the territory, and a lot of them do carry their own little inside jokes, like being references to other games. In fact, one of the bonus areas as in Vampire Survivors is a living shout out to Sonic, complete with references to the Sonic 1 special stages and blue spheres, and even the key items you can acquire there are references to Sonic as well when it comes to the gemstones, which is pretty neat. But that, just the tip of the iceberg, and obviously there's going to be a lot of Castlevania references. I mean, for fuck's sake, you look at Antonio and it's he could very well be a Belmont. And hell, even the vampire in the title screen, the only time you ever see one in the game, and could easily just be mistaken for Dracula, but honestly, it's pretty charming. They even released a couple of bits of DLC for it. It's under different themes, like a Japanese mountain village, which obviously includes stuff like Oni and Kappa as your main enemies of interest, and a more typical medieval fantasy area akin to D&D that quickly heads towards the realm of creepy. But yeah, it's available on pretty much everything right now that isn't PlayStation, and not too long ago, they even got a pretty neat collab with Among Us.
Oh god, Among Us.
Now you too can survive the vampires as a sussy baka.
That sounds cringe, not gonna lie.
You're cringe. Oh, yeah, and even added, a storyline kind of mode, hard with unique challenges and handicaps to test as the player's knowledge of everything that can be done. Honestly, it feels like I can't really do Vampire Survivors justice as it is, but trust me when I say it's really good. Hell, if you're looking for something that you can earn a lot of achievements from, then it's pretty much perfect. In fact, if you haven't played it on Xbox yet and you've got Game Pass active, that can be your gold mine for doing achievements on the daily missions, which certainly was for me, until I burned through every last one of those achievements. And for me, Vampire Survivors is fully complete on Series X when it comes to the achievement list, although I should probably check out the newer content sometime. Maybe once, it's explicitly confirmed that the Among Us DLC is coming to all systems. But if you want to buy it for yourself, it's dirt cheap. Like, the most it goes for is like, I don't know, £4 for the base game. And the DLC isn't really all that expensive either. In fact, the DLC combined is probably around half the price of the base game, so you're getting your money's worth. I can tell you that right now. One of the better indie games I've played, and Chronicle should be proud of what they've accomplished for creating one of the most replayable games in the modern age.
For all you US viewers, £4's about $6, I think. I'm pretty sure. I don't know a difference between. I don't know how to go from quid to US dollar. I can just put it up on post. I have seen footage of Vampire Slayers. It looks pretty interesting, to say the least. Okay.
It was like freaking dominant when it first came out. Everyone was talking about that dang thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't remember people really talking about it. And then again, back then, if it wasn't,
it was huge.
Yeah. I mean, if Some Call Me Johnny wasn't talking about it and it wasn't like hitting super mainstream otherwise, then I probably wouldn't have heard of it. But it's nice to know that it's getting the recognition it deserves, which probably explains why it was able to get a collab with Among Us in the first place.
It has created a new genre, straight up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I did say it was a roguelike, but it's kind of in its own league. It's not quite like The Binding of Isaac.
I think people are saying vampire-like, if I remember as
Vampire-like.
Vampire-like.
No, I don't think that's...
the next Metroidvania genre.
What is vampires? There is a name they're using. It's not that
Survivor-like.
Maybe
Survivor. Here, I could just check on the Steam page right now since I have Steam open.
But like it's
like...
really good, and I also appreciate the sprite work in general. You can tell that it was very much made with a strong love with Castlevania, but they're not
horde
ripping
shooter.
off
I think
of
maybe
Castlevania beat for
people are
beat.
using.
I've seen Bullet Heaven.
I see popular user defined
actually,
tab.
I think
that's
people
another
have
thing.
tried to make Bullet Heaven stick for a couple of years now.
Bullet hell is something that does happen in Vampire Survivors. In fact, at certain points in a run, you will get swarmed with a fuck ton of enemies that are there to test if your current gear is actually going to carry you for the next few minutes or so. And in fact, the game heavily encourages that you get to the point where you are the bullet hell, because otherwise, well, you're not surviving. It's that simple.
When are we ever surviving?
Well, I was, and managed to get it all done as well. You're not. So hop to it.
I'll probably put it on my wish list when it's on sale. Okay, Kibbs or Knack, which one do you want to go first?
I don't know.
What are
Okay,
give us options.
Okay, Knack, your option is The Last of Us, and Kibbs, your option is Signalis.
I can do a quick Signalis.
Okay, Kibbs, talk about Signalis, because I am quite interested in it.
Signalis is good until it's not good, and then I don't like it. It's a 7 out of 10. I think it's all right. It's cool. If the fear wears off, then you will see the cracks. There's something I want to go into, but I can't without spoiling the game. It just does something that I wasn't a fan of. But like when I enjoyed it, it was like a 10 out of 10 game. And then once I was like, oh wait, this isn't actually that scary. It was okay.
I mean, that's just the thing with scary games. It like loses the scare factor over time.
That's why I couldn't get into like Resident Evil.
Resident Evil is even supposed to be scary. I feel. I think it's supposed to be like
Resident Evil is more of a thriller.
Yeah, it's supposed to feel like it's supposed to kind of get your heart racing. And
early
to me,
RE is supposed to be a little scary.
I played what is it, Village?
You played
and was just like, and I just didn't. I didn't feel like it was like exciting or thrilling or anything. It just felt kind of boring. I was just kind of wandering around, meandering about as scary guys were running around, and it was just.
I feel like you would like 4 then, because 4 is not scary. It's just an action game at that point. Point.
Well, I mean, it's an action game with a considerable amount of suspense, like genuine, intense moment. It's not like RE6, which is often derided for being so balls to the walls action. There's no time for anything resembling a scare.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 6 is the Call of Duty of Resident Evil.
Yeah.
No, that would be Chris's campaign.
Signalis, but Signalis just doesn't quite
do it for you.
Doesn't quite do it for me, because it's just there's a point where the atmosphere and everything just kind of wore off. And I was just like, okay.
I am interested in it. It looks interesting, especially with that like CRT look to it as well. I don't know if it's like a filter. Mm-hmm.
It's worth going through. It's definitely worth going through. Giving it a go. It just
I think it's on my wish list, though. I need to double check. Knack,
right.
You played The Last of Us.
I'm about to drop a piping hot.
Oh no!
Last of Us take.
Oh no!
I think The Last of Us was pretty good.
Oh yeah.
You got kids on
I really don't
I'm gonna be real here. It's not really a hot take to say that The Last of Us 1 is a good game. It's the second game where things get decidedly more divisive.
I haven't played that one yet.
You're gonna love it. You won't.
The remaster's coming out.
It is on the list of
play
events.
Let's not talk about the remaster because we'd be here forever.
I will just say, I am going to give Last of Us 2 a shake. I do not have any preset opinions on this game. Mm-hmm. I might like it. I might not like it. I'll play it someday, and I'll see.
Have you played Uncharted? Because I feel like if you played... Oh, really? Oh, then this is your first time playing a Naughty Dog third-person game.
Yeah, that was my... Well, my first Naughty Dog game was Jack and Daxter. But other than that, it was...
I mean, I think this is actually just the first time I played through a Naughty Dog game.
That's
in general.
Interesting.
But yeah, I actually really don't have much to add to the conversation with this one. I thought it did a lot of things pretty well. The gameplay was good enough for what it needed to be.
I always see like everyone's like, "Oh, it's not good because of the gameplay." I'm just of the opinion like the gameplay is like not secondary, but like it needs to be good enough for you to go through the story.
I played it on the I took what was a lot of people's recommendations and I cranked it up to 1 difficulty level above normal. I thought that was a comfortable enough challenge that I did have to think and consider my resources a little bit because I couldn't just use my best weapons all the time.
Which version of The Last of Us 1 did you play again?
Remastered.
I played remastered, not the remake on PS4.
Yeah, to be honest, like the remake's completely pointless when you consider that you could get, The Last of Us remastered on PS4 for like a tenner. And
I spent like $10 on it.
Nice.
But yeah, it was fun. The DLC was cool too. I did that. That had the interesting
It expanded Ellie's character. Basically.
Well, you could being able to turn the enemies on each other was cool. The
they expand on that in part 2.
Yeah, the relationship was cute and sad.
I do think the story being, I don't know. I just think the story of The Last of Us it is great, probably one of my favorite stories in game, but like as such a high pedestal, it's kind of backfired on it considerably. I feel.
I feel like
I
that high pedestal
do
wouldn't
still
backfire on it as much if it just never got a sequel, because
I do
The Last of
still
Us
think,
was a lot more prestigious when it was just the one title.
I think throughout this game's entire life, and this is even before Last of Us 2, I think a lot of people are really annoying when it comes to talking about The Last of Us. It is part of why I took so long to actually get around to these games, because it is a really good game. There are games that exist outside of The Last of Us.
One of my friends was extremely obnoxious about the first Last of Us game. And so I picked up the game out of spite. Played it around, and they were like, "Oh, it's so realistic. It's really cool." And first thing I did was I grabbed a brick and I threw it at a window, and the brick shattered. And I just said, "Shut up!" And I never touched the game until like 2 years later when I actually gave it an honest shot. But it did shut them up. I was like, if your unending praise is really, really so true, I'll give it a go. And I just found the first thing I could to just prove them wrong and be like, "All right, now just let me play it with my own thoughts, please."
Oh god,
I ended up loving it.
You liking part 2, you probably pissed off your friends, some of them.
No, all my friends really like part 2.
Interesting. Everyone I talk to seems to not like part 2.
Yeah, I understand the people.
The only people I've actually talked to in person that have played part 2 have liked it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just can't wait for the Last of Us community to flip their shit over season 2. It's gonna be a fucking movie night that day. Okay, so what other easy ones can we pick off here? We're gonna save Klonoa for last. Same with Battle Network. I know Kibbs has a lot to say when they cry.
I think we just ripped that band-aid off.
Yeah, when they cry. Go ahead, Kibbs.
All right. So I went through.
What happens when they cry?
Let me tell you.
Well, you have about like 200 to 300 hours.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I'll give you the abridged version. I won't be going into spoilers, of course, regarding when they cry on the whole. But I went through Higurashi and Umineko both this year, and Higurashi was a little difficult for me to get through. It was very, very slice of lifey. But because of that, all of the characters are actually like great. I love all but like one of the main casts, and I can't say who it is, or else I will literally be shot on sight.
Ooh, I don't know this.
And so,
can you give me like a subtle clue that only someone would know these characters? Because I have a guess in my head.
I don't know how to like give a clue without giving away the character instantly. But yeah, anyway, moving on. I really like a lot of what Higurashi goes for. I think it kind of shoots itself in the foot in two different ways. I don't think it does quite the best job portraying its own mystery aspects in the first bit. I think the answer arcs are the stronger half, because everything's just a bit more clear than in the first half. Because in the first half, you generally can't really tell too much of what's going on. There's you'd have to make a lot of leaps in logic to have the full scope of things, because they kind of hide things that I think they shouldn't have. But it's one of those things that, looking back on, I look back a lot more fondly on Higurashi than when I had finished it. I was like, when I finished it, I thought it was just like okay, but with time I've come to appreciate it a lot more. And then there's Umineko.
There was someone I interacted with who was an Umineko fan. They were so annoying that I probably don't want to play the game.
Well, you know another very annoying one, and he's sitting right here.
You're more tolerable than the other one, I'll say that.
Anyways.
And I will say, I don't have a problem with long stories. I have a problem with stories that are long for no reason, and Umineko falls into that. Higurashi does as well. I know I hurt you here, Knack, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. You could cut 20% of the words in Umineko out, and nothing would change. I know that's a bold claim.
I'll give you 5%.
5%. No.
5%.
I will not give you 20.
We'll bargain at 15.
12.5.
Deal.
Kibbs is destroying Knack right now.
Yeah. I think Umineko is far more ambitious than I think it even realizes. It has a lot of interesting concepts. There's a specific concept that they bring up in like chapter 6 or 7 that I think they actually did beautifully. I was captivated the whole time. But the characters feel a bit less interesting in Umineko. Part of it is the way in which they tell the story, I feel, doesn't provide enough different meaningful interactions with the characters. And in a couple characters' cases, it feels like, okay, you've had your time in the spotlight, now we're gonna kind of forget about you, more or less. Which
Don't
I wasn't
you
super
forget about me.
wasn't a super big fan of. There's a whole like core part of its concept that shows up later on that I'm just like, I think was done poorly. I think there's quite a few issues with at the very least the handling of it. I think it's a good concept, but I really don't think they take it the full way. I don't know. I wanted to love Umineko. Music slaps. I gotta say that music goes so unbelievably hard. It is great. Characters are a mixed bag. Some of them I actually like. There's a handful I adore. I think they're wonderful. But then there's a lot that I'm just like, I could literally just throw you in the garbage bin. Yeah, it's a big. It's very, very, very mixed overall. I would say, completely, like on the whole, I view Umineko pretty negatively. I don't think.
I remember you told me, don't tell Knack this, but Umineko was mid. I'm like, oh god, Knack is gonna kill you.
I think it. I think a lot of its unanimous praise comes partially from it being so long that you have to love it to finish it.
I think that's
partially
just,
willing to give you that, but
I
I,
think that's
also
just a visual
was
novel thing.
adoring it by the end of episode 1.
I think so. I actually think episode 1 is one of the strongest ones. Is one of the strongest episodes. I think one was one of the most interesting ones to me. I think 3 is probably my favorite overall, maybe. But I find that a lot of the chapters are just they take turns being good for me. And so it was like, oh, this is neat, and then I was like, whoa, this is not at all. And then it's like, oh, it's getting cool again, and then it's like, that was the single worst experience I've had this month.
I do know that one of the fan favorite chapters is like, I think bottom 2, if not bottom 1 for you.
All I'm gonna say is there's a reason I haven't talked too much about the final chapter, and it's because I have honestly nothing but bad things to say about it.
That one is actually very controversial, even in the fan base.
I could tell. There's one point that I'm like, I will not back off on and be like, this, none of this. I do not want any of this.
Is it when all the fighting starts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's literal playground rules. I hate it so much. It's like, oh, I'm gonna summon a black hole and it's gonna be crazy, and then, oh, Blaine, you died in the black hole, but that wasn't actually me, and there was another me. And I'm like,
that bit.
I was just like, please, just like have some consistency. I don't like talking about power scaling because I think I think power scaling is inherently a not super great thing to get into and can ruin a lot of things. But I didn't feel a sense of like I didn't know what was going on. I've been with these characters the entire time.
I actually want to jump in on that specific point because I also hate power scaling when applied to Umineko, but not because of the story itself, but because there is a subsect of people online who like to tout Umineko characters as the strongest characters in fiction.
So you're talking about Reddit?
Yes, like unironically, people whose only engagement with the series is because of a certain purple-haired individual with a pen's ability to do things.
Yeah,
Who?
I have very different thoughts on that particular point, but I also think that is like a part of it is I think there is sort of an element of parody going on there that I think just did not work for you, like at all. And I respect that. This is not me saying like it's bad on purpose, but just more of like. And I know this is going to sound like a cop-out answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think fighting is purely for fun in Umineko and does not matter narratively.
So that's a chunk of the 20% I would cut out. Is a lot of fighting that happens in Umineko. It's just it feels meaningless in most scenarios.
Yeah.
There's actually 3 fight scenes off the top of my head that I was like actually actively engaged in, and even if it was like more parody and supposed to kind of be more like silly, the fight scenes, that the one in particular that I take the most issue with, it either was an hour long or it really felt like it was an hour long. And that was and they I believe they did cut it up a little bit where it's like a little bit of fight and then other stuff and then fight again and then other stuff and then fight, and I was just like, please.
That is one of the ones where I'm actually like explicitly willing to give you that sequence goes on far too long for its own good.
So it's one of those things. Umineko, I said earlier that subtlety is very important to me, and I think Umineko is another story that I don't think gets subtlety. I felt like I was bashing my head against a wall because I'm like, I know what's going on. I understand what's going on. Please stop just talking to me about this is what is happening. It's like, I know what's happening. I understand what's happening.
That is such a difficult one to comment on because, and again, I know this is not a good defense of it. You understood a lot of what was going on far better than most people that went through that story.
Yeah, I mean, I do recognize that, and there's something I was talking to Braden about a while ago of like, I understand that there's a lot that I picked up on just because writing
you have a writing background.
I have a background in this stuff, but it's still this idea of you gotta trust. You really gotta trust your reader. You really have to trust that your reader will understand what's going on. And I think Umineko really doesn't, and so it can feel like there's a bit of a high horse situation going on of like well, you might not understand what I just said here, so I'm gonna tell you. And it's like, come on, you don't need to do that. It is, especially for its genre. It's okay for your readers to be in the dark sometimes. And even with any story, it's okay to leave things unanswered because a lot of the time readers will be more than happy to fill in the blanks themselves, even if they don't have a concrete answer. And Umineko kind of spits in the face of that and it explains too much and over-explains. I feel a lot of conversations aren't like, it's not two characters talking, it is a character talking about the mechanics of the story. And I was not a big fan of that. I didn't like the feeling of being lectured instead of watching two characters kind of go at it. And it's not like that's all that the dialogue was like in that, because it's part of that 20% that I'm just like, I look at, I'm like, I could really go without this. chapter 8 is really bad with that. Where it's just like, here's the mechanics of the story. Here's how things work. Here's how everything is going. And I'm like, I understand how it's going. I understand the mechanics of the story. I know what this character is, what they're about. I know what this character is about. You don't need to tell me. I've read this. I've stuck with this story for the last like 80 hours. So like, please just let me think. Just give me time.
Y'all had a lot to say about this game, honestly. Holy shit.
I have even more. I could literally write a massive essay about Umineko and break down.
Yeah.
In this video essay,
Kibbs knows at least 2 people who consider this their favorite piece of media. I myself being one of them.
Yeah.
And like I fully understand that, like, you know, it had a really high bar going in, and for you, it did not even come close to reaching that bar.
Kibbs, I feel like you would make a YouTube video about Umineko.
So I debated it, but I know it would be met with a lot of hate, even like because even if I go out of my way to make it as nice as possible, I think. I don't think it'd be nice to the Umineko fan base because they're so captivated by it, and like I said earlier, I think a lot of the times if people don't like Umineko, they're gonna stop reading at chapter 1 or 2, and that's why I think if you're not in by chapter 1 or 2, you just don't like it and you just move on. But if you like it after chapter 1, chapter 2, then you're gonna love it. There is a lot to love about Umineko. If you love it.
The only major dissent I see is someone that is deeply in the Umineko sphere, and most of my encounters among people that are positive of it is there is a subsection of people that really dislike the direction that the answer arcs go in, and that loved the question arcs. So you very rarely see someone who start to finish had that level of mixed reaction.
Yeah, and I honestly wouldn't have finished Umineko if it wasn't for the fact that I just read rather quickly. I got through everything in like 90 hours, and I know one of my friends took 100 hours to get through the answer arcs alone.
Ew.
My whole first run was about 180.
Yeah.
180 hours to beat a fucking game? Holy shit.
Well, so
it's a visual novel.
But I did it with both my roommates. We basically treated it like a TV show where we would just set it to autoplay and just sit down for like an hour or two. We'd talk about it after, and it was a lovely experience, and that's part of why it is such a positive thing. Like, again, it is my personal favorite piece of media. I don't have a writing background, right? So I understand that some of your criticisms I'm incapable of engaging with because I could not create the proper words for a defense, right? I don't have that. What I only have is my personal experience. For me, this changed the way that I engaged with every other story.
Yeah. And
it is a work that is very important to me, but at the end of the day, that was my experience.
Yeah.
Not everyone is going to have that.
Yeah. And I don't want to invalidate a lot of people's opinions because it's really difficult handling a topic where someone has more knowledge on it than someone else. Because I don't want to invalidate people. Be like, well, actually, if you look at the rules of writing and all this stuff, it does all these things wrong.
Because also part of my argument there is that like writing in itself is a craft that you can define rules, but like nothing is 100% airtight.
Well, yeah, no, because rules are meant to be broken, but you have to show that you understand a rule before you can break it. And you have to show within the story that you understand the rule and have a really good reason for breaking it. And that's where I think Umineko kind of falters. It's where Higurashi falters as well, but Higurashi doesn't have as big of a focus on like looking at those rules, unlike Umineko, which is deliberately looking at those rules, and it doesn't show a clear, thorough understanding of what it's trying to tackle. There's a couple things where like if you just like do a Google search, you'll find a couple of flaws just in how it is structured. A character showed up, and my immediate response the second I saw them was, I'm worried about this character's existence because I know what they're about. And it didn't prove me wrong in that regard. It didn't feel like that character had a particular reason to be there. In fact, I think they detracted 100% from like what their focus was, especially because they kind of teed it up. I'm not going to go too deep into detail, but they teed something
know
up.
exactly which character that you're talking about.
I think
they teed something up perfectly. But yeah, I'll make this my last thought. I'm sorry. They teed something up perfectly for like, here's a concept. Okay, here's showing an understanding of the concept, and here's teasing another aspect of that. And now here's the natural extension of that concept that we just teased again, and we're not following through on it. We're not going to acknowledge it. We're just going to leave it, and we're just not going to look at it. And I was just like, why would you do that? There's no point. It leaves like just a gaping hole that I just stare at. I'm like, why? It just makes me ask what the point was of writing the two characters and part of the concept of the story the way that they did. Because it's like there's no reason here. You've shown to a degree that you understand it, but you're missing that second part.
I think we spent enough time on this.
Literally,
Yeah,
y'all been talking about this for so long. Holy shit!
I agree mostly with that. It's just it's the second half that kind of takes away from the first half. But that's it. Umineko is okay. I don't think it's very great. Knack loves it.
I have my Beatrice doll in my hand right now.
I'm sorry.
I am pathetic.
You also have the Beatrice Paper Mario profile picture.
You bet I do.
I love that profile picture. It's a peak.
I use it whenever we're doing whenever Knack's on a podcast. I use that profile picture as a stand-in for him.
And you should.
Yeah,
I like that image.
Okay, so
right.
I think we should focus on some ones Protector has to talk about since he's probably like tired or the like that. I don't know. He's like 5 hours ahead of us. Protector, do you want to talk about Halo or the Battle Network series?
Let's knock Halo out first. So
Okay.
Halo was always something I kind of had my eye on once I finally got a Series X, especially when Game Pass allowed me to play most of, if not the entire series, but it wasn't something I was any rush to play. I mean, come on, Sonic Unleashed at 60 FPS, that's where the real money was at.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually when I was looking for something to play, I did ultimately cave in to the recommendation and from AJ, someone in MUME's Discord server, that I should give the Halo series a shot, and I decided, yeah, you know what? I haven't got much to do. Should probably get a bit more of experience with the FPS genre, and what better way to do that than the very series that helped popularize it.
I think it's
on
good to
beyond, the golden Hanai game on N64, and what I got out of it was truly something special. Halo Combat Evolved definitely did feel like it was, the first of its kind. So beyond just simply adjusting to Halo's own unique rules, like only having 2 weapons at a time, no sprinting, and a bit of a regenerating shield, that also came with a built-in health system with health packs and such, I definitely had to get used to. But, I was hooked. Just being thrown into the middle of a war between the UNSC and the Covenant. And with the main goal being to figure out what the hell this Halo thing is. But I will admit that for the first half of the game, I was having a good time. Just taking down any Covenant that stood between me and Victory, cursing out the Hunter's existence because those things are assholes. Well, it's just, typical stuff, but that was it. It just felt typical in the beginning. Like, Master Chief was pretty cool, but wasn't quite feeling it. It wasn't really seeing as much of the hype. And then the Flood came in, And I shit you not, the debut level of the Flood in Halo Combat Evolved is one of the best, most suspenseful introductions to a horror-themed villain I have ever seen. Wandering into a suspiciously abandoned and complex, with very little life inside, no Covenant to shoot you down, barely any UNSC, soldiers to greet you, and the first one you see is completely delirious, and willing to shoot on sight after witnessing something traumatic, and it's only once you get into the heart of everything you find there was something sealed here for the reason, and then the outbreak occurs just right as you're at the center of it. Find your way out and seeing everything the Flood can do, from infecting life beings to reanimating corpses, and then shit gets real once you find out what Halo was actually built for, after going through the library level with Guilty Spark, who was a total piece of shit, by the way, for reasons I didn't talk about in Halo 3. Just finding out that the Halo was basically what Sergeant Johnson had referred to it as in the legendary difficulty, God's anti-son-of-a-bitch machine. He had no idea how right he was. And then it became a race against time to not only stop the spread of the Flood, but prevent the Halo from going off. And for as much as I didn't like the Warthog controls, that final chase sequence was pretty neat. But at the same time, oh god, those Warthog controls. I was more than happy to get my hands on a Covenant vehicle pretty much anytime they showed up, because anything from the UNSC in Combat Evolved just wasn't really my style. Give me a Ghost any day. But on that
You were
note,
playing it on controller. Try playing with a keyboard and mouse. That's where hell breaks loose.
well, these hands were meant for a controller.
These hands
a
were meant
true
to play
way
on
to
it.
play games.
So that means they were built with carpal tunnel in mind.
I mean, there might be. Who knows? Anyways, the only other issue I found was the fact that until the Flood came in, it was a little hard to get weapon and ammo for the UNSC weapons, and I wasn't too big on some of the ones from the Covenant. In fact, the only one I was really consistently happy with on the Covenant end was the Needler, just purely because of its explosive prowess. But anytime I could get my hands on a mix of the two, that was usually really good, especially since Covenant weapons were good for annihilating an enemy's shield, and the UNSC weapons could eat through their raw health just like that. So it was really cool to try and figure out, okay, what am I going to balance out? And more importantly, where the hell is the energy sword? Like, where is it? That's like the most iconic weapon in all of Halo, and it's not here. Give me the energy sword now.
I find that the best
was a consistent thought that I had throughout Combat Evolved. When I came out of it, I thought, this is pretty good. It's no Metroid Prime. Then again, nothing is. But, I see why Halo took off as much as it did, and that was just with the single-player campaign. And, both in terms of, the gameplay and the story, it was pretty much the textbook example of simple but effective. And I am amazed at just how effectively Bungie managed to set up the Flood as, this big evil that would make every known being in the galaxy ally with each other, even when they're normally enemies, just to make sure that the Flood stays in containment, because for some reason, how some precursors decided, hey, let's just put these things in storage instead of exterminating them. That'll be fun, right? It isn't. For God's sake, this is why SR-388 should have been blown up long before the Metroid series got started, but you could thank Raven Beak for that. And, and yes, Metroid's going to be brought up quite a bit, because I feel like Samus and Master Chief kind of have a similar appeal, just in different flavors, both being stoic badasses as achieving the impossible, all while being, just people of very few words.
Shout out to the late Monty Ohms classic Haloid.
Yes.
Ooh.
I've never heard of that, but we can save that for another day. Just DM it.
Well, it's
me once the podcast
Metroid
open.
versus Halo.
It has one of
wins.
the greatest
This is
twist
a-
endings of all time.
Metroid wins, like especially now that Dread is a thing because
Well,
Master Chief,
let's
Master
just-
Chief can survive
let's
the
just say they-
impossible.
let's just say
But-
they both win in the end. And I'll leave it.
Oh my! But yeah, anyways, the real key point of interest after Halo Combat Evolved, where I evolved the combat, was how does Halo 2 improve upon it? And it's pretty simple. Well, the game now operates on a constant regenerating shield system instead of a traditional health bar, which in a way just helps make things feel a little more kinetic. Like a greater variety in weapons now that we've got, different kinds of species within the Covenant with their own cultures and stuff. Like, we don't just have the elites, which made up the good chunk of your cannon fodder in the first game, but you also got the likes of the brutes, who end up being the biggest antagonistic force by the end. And then, of course, because I love me some Sonic Adventure 2, I was a sucker for being able to play as not just the Master Chief, but also the Arbiter, played by the absolute legend that is Keith David himself.
Oh,
and
Keith David,
I'm going to say it right
yes.
now. Keith David, he knocks out of the park with pretty much every role he's given. The Arbiter is no different. And in fact, you know what? Since I'm in the middle of praising voice actors, I'm just going to quickly look up who voices Master Chief because I keep forgetting.
Master Chief VA.
Okay, he's voiced by
Steve Downs.
Yeah,
Yep.
Steve Downs. God bless him. Absolutely perfect.
He
I
still
guess the
plays the
Chief.
character.
In fact, you know what? Just in general, the voice cast is incredibly solid. And on the note of, the voices and whatnot, I should probably talk about how Halo 2 had a far better sense of, cinematography than Combat Evolved. You could tell that Combat Evolved was the first time Bungie was really getting to do, something that was even remotely AAA, so naturally cutscenes weren't exactly their biggest strong suit. It was at least on par with Devil May Cry 1, and then some other games around that time, but when you look at just what they achieved with Halo 2 only like 2 years later, it's night and day, Special shoutouts to one of the opening cutscenes, where you constantly switch back between a Master Chief getting his honors for what he did in Combat Evolved, and the man who would become the Arbiter, ultimately just being stripped of his rank in front of the other elites, and getting scarred, basically as public humiliation, and more or less being sent on death row were it not for the Prophets deciding, hey, we could use another Arbiter to just throw away. And it was pretty cool. Got me hooked on the whole thing pretty damn well. Oh, and yeah, Halo 2 was basically just Combat Evolved, but a lot cooler. And when I say a lot cooler, I mean the first mission involving Master Chief involves you having to defuse a bomb that the Covenant planted on the current space station, and what? It's Chief's plan of attack for dealing with the Covenant in response? To give them back their bomb. And it's like, oh, we're in for some good stuff. And he actually pulls it off, like, pretty much perfectly. A bomb goes off on one of the big Confidence ships. He comes out unscathed. Dude's fucking crazy. But the good kind of crazy. The really badass kind of crazy. Hey. And I've got nothing much else to say on Master Chief because, well, take what you'd like about him in Combat Evolved, and 2 just decides it's to feed it. It's some more of that. And especially with dealing with that scarab, the big, massive Walker mecha coming through Cairo, I think it was.
I think that's what Alex said it was, yeah.
I
I know what you're talking about.
That was a pretty fun set piece scene. How Chief and a few other UNSC soldiers were dealing with on foot. And you know, just really like the banter between each of them, especially whatever Johnson had to offer. Like, whenever Johnson was on screen, I couldn't get enough of him. He was always just one of the best characters, especially in that secret ending for Combat Evolved of on Legendary difficulty. Hey, if you know the one, you know the one. But yeah. Wasn't a big fan of driving that big tank though. Like even in Halo 3, I just not really big on the tanks. But I will say that Halo 2, when it comes to vehicle controls, just better across the board. The Warthog is actually decent to control. Like that was my biggest, want going into Halo 2. Does the Warthog, actually control well? And it does. Like. Jesus Christ, the Warhawk controls in Combat Evolved have not aged well in the slightest.
They have not.
There's a reason. Again, there's a reason why I would much rather take up anything from the Covenant than ever hop into a Warthog, unless it's absolutely mandatory. But anyways, Master Chief stuff was good. But where things got really interesting was with the character arc of the Arbiter, who, despite, the shame and that's been brought upon him for something that ultimately he did the best he could in, but gradually seeing that things were not what the prophets made them out to be, that's pretty compelling, especially once he started getting clearer and clearer hints until the brutes decided to just be like, alright, you served your purpose. You die now, and when it's thanks to the Grave Mind that he's able to bounce back, can you take the fight back to the brutes, and finish off Tartarus as once for all. And by the way, Tartarus also excellently voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, again the real all-stars, was in for this series. And in general, seeing the inner workings of the Covenant and their culture was one of the most fascinating parts about Halo 2, especially when you see that they're not immune to trying to eliminate political opponents, or anyone that would be a threat to their cult. It's pretty much at the drop of a hat. Like, one of the other prophets just get sent to die at the hands of Master Chief. And, well, we already know what happens to the Arbiter, and even the other elites, too. Oh, and it's only thanks to Gravemind that things are able to be put back on track, but that's where things get really interesting, because Gravemind just orchestrates the back half of the game, more or less, as to be at its own benefit. Because soon after Master Chief gets on board the High Charity, that's the one, and as soon as he gets on board that and eats through a lot of the Covenant forces, as the Gravemind decides to send a bunch of Flood there to infect the place, and it's pretty cool to just see the spread out of the Flood in real time. I'm like, this time you are genuinely at ground zero, and again, just really fucking love of the Flood. But what's even better is seeing the elites, and the UNSC team up to take on the brutes, especially once the Arbiter finds out the truth about the functionality behind the Halos. And, gonna give him credit here. He actually tries to, call all the truce with Tartarus and the brutes, so that they may stop a common enemy. And it just, it stops. It doesn't work because, the brutes are very much too caught up in the Prophet of Truth's lies, and yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. I was just kind of going along for the ride, being amazed at pretty much everything I saw, because there was no idea what was gonna happen next. Especially once Cortana had to stay behind in High Charity, with Master Chief making a break Think for the Prophet of Truth trying to invade Earth, and that's where we get the most iconic cliffhanger in Halo history. Master Chief, you mind telling me what you're doing on that ship? Sir, finishing the fight. And it's like, it's peak fiction. And especially with that post-credit scene, where we see that Gravemind is now fully taking over High Charity, and wants to talk a few things over with Cortana, which, hey, we can just jump straight into Halo 3, and I'm just gonna say this right now, there's a reason why it's considered the game of 2007, and anything I say here probably will not do it justice. But in short, it is somehow just better than both Halo 1 and Halo 2. Oh, and wow. For an early HD title, that naturally would come from an age where they leaned a lot harder into realism and thus it wouldn't age as well, Halo 3 still looks really good today, like possibly on par with some of the more recent games when it comes to just art direction and in general. And while I feel like the story wasn't as much of an engaging ride as Halo 2's, but that was also because we were dealing with a lot more political intrigue with the inner workings of the Covenant, whereas Halo 3 decides to just go for a more straightforward action story by comparison, which, yeah, the veil's been lifted, and, it's a race against time to stop a multitude of Halos from going off, and wiping out all life in the known universe, more or less. Yes, and it's really cool to just see Chief and the Arbiter team up. Starting out more or less as mortal enemies, but becoming Fireforged friends who would do anything to make sure the other got out. Like, you can tell they've morphed into genuine war buddies by the end, and it's just really good, especially with all the good lines that the Arbiter gets. It's like, they were cooking with the Arbiter once again, I'll just say that much. And I won't lie, I was kind of creeped out every time Cortana was trying to break through the Chief. Because it, him just practically shutting down every time it happened, because what's going on? Like, Cortana's supposed to be super far away. How is she doing this? What's Gravemind doing to Chief? And speaking of the Flood once again, and they decide to make themselves even scarier by the simple fact that there was an outbreak of them about to happen on Earth, and it's only thanks to the elites, with the Arbiter, glassing the entire African continent, and that the spread on Earth was stopped. And even then, that was only at the Arbiter's request, because otherwise, Earth as a whole would have just been annihilated, to make sure the Flood didn't spread. And in general, if you really want to see just the early disgusting nature of the Flood in full force, Halo 3 is pretty much a perfect example. Not just with an outbreak on Earth, but when you go back into High Charity to save Cortana, and you see the place fully infected, like all of it. It barely even looks like how it did in Halo 2. Oh, now it's just a massive pile of pus and mucus. It's with infection awaiting you at every turn, and in several different forms ready to snipe you or just eviscerate you, and it was pretty brutal, not gonna lie. But it was all worth it just to save Cortana and have her reunite with Chief. Especially with this little Xener, and when she asks how he's gonna get the two of them out. Well, I'd try shooting my way out. Mix things up a little. Oh, and especially her reaction to seeing the Arbiter coming in to help Chief. But then the finale decides to just hit me 6 ways from Sunday because Guilty Spark decides to kill Johnson. Guilty Spark is officially the worst character in Halo history because he killed one of the best simply because he wasn't patient enough or understanding enough of Johnson and everyone else's position and concerning the flood in the preservation of life as we know it. And by the very least, Johnson gives you the weapon needs to annihilate Guilty Spark. So it's all good. And they did the Warhog escape sequence from Halo Combat Evolved, but good. Like, really good. Like, it was genuinely a really intense set piece with the entire your Halo ring it was just newly constructed going off and barely escaping into the ship and getting through the warp hole, which just shuts down and cuts the ship in half, so only the other escapes. Like, that's really good. I can't really say too much on Halo 3 that I haven't already, and to be honest, I haven't even touched the multiplayer all that much, which is where a lot of the appeal of Halo comes from, but I'm just gonna say this right now. The original trilogy of Halo, really good games. And I can see why they'd be someone's favorites. It's just that, no game in 2007 is ever gonna beat Sonic and the Secret Rings. Let's be real.
Oh god. Oh god.
I am not God. I am simply Justin the dog.
Well, Justin the dog is wrong.
No, I am always right. Yeah, I feel like this would have been better explained by someone who's much more into Halo. But
I've played like half of Combat Evolved and like 2 hours of multiplayer on Infinite.
I played most of the games when I was like 12. So
I got into the series not last year, but the year before that. I have 88.4 hours on the Master Chief Collection, and that is like 70 hours of campaign.
Oh yeah, the Master Chief Collection. Did you know that released on pretty much the same day in Rise of Lyric and was probably just as much of a broken disaster? Yeah, like 343 has put a lot of effort into making it go from that to being like the definitive Halo collection. They even, oh yeah, and another cool thing about that collection, it not only has an anniversary version of Combat Evolved that was initially released for the 360, although that version is a bit contentious, but at the very least you could just press that weird window button on the Xbox controller to switch between the two versions at any time, which very much appreciated. That is a really, really good feature. But he also made a completely new anniversary version of Halo 2 that many actually genuinely like. But for the sake of getting the authentic experience, I just decided to go with the original versions once I knew how to access them, and I'll probably play the anniversary editions in full later on.
I just go with the anniversary versions because I know like Halo fans are like, if you play the anniversary, well, except maybe not too, but if one, it's like you're not respecting the art direction or the artistic choices if you play the anniversary. I just think I this is probably just a me thing, but I just watch this. Playing it anniversary mode is just easier on the eyes for me, honestly. That's the only reason. There are some moments where I just switch to the original graphics, but other than that, I just play on the anniversary mode. Though I probably just pissed off all the Halo fans out there just saying that.
All the 4 Halo fans that are actually going to watch this.
Mm-hmm. But I always had put Halo in like a not high pedestal, but like I was like, well, no. If I put it on high pedestal, it would be like up there with Ultra Kill. But no, I always considered it one of the better FPSs out there. As someone who's not big into them, like I played Dusk. I wasn't a big fan of that. Half-Life. I finished Half-Life earlier this year. Never played it again. Nope. No.
Meanwhile, I'm still due to, play the back half of the Master Collection. Like, I still gotta go through ODST and Reach, and hopefully, because Reach is a prequel, we get more of Johnson. And then, of course, there's Halo 4, which is the start of a whole other saga entirely.
I'm interested in your opinion of the 4, because 4 is the one that's like you either like it or you don't like it. That's how I see it.
I feel like that sums up practically every major numbered Halo game between 3 and Infinite. Well, I mean, they don't really do numbers as much anymore if Infinite's any indication.
I don't know. I played like 2 hours of Infinite and didn't. Well, not Infinite's campaign and didn't really pick it back up because I want to play 4. Well, right now I'm replaying the series. I need to play 4, 5, and then Infinite.
And then there's all the spin-offs and such, and even the novels that, you know, have a bunch of extra lore.
There's also the Paramount Plus series.
We don't talk about that. That is a sin upon humanity. Because they keep showing Master Chief's face, and it's like, you don't do that. You know, the entire appeal is that you don't know what he looks like, or what much of his past even is.
The only thing I know about the Halo Paramount show is there was that article that went around that said this episode details how Master Chief lost his virginity, and I thought that was one of the funniest headlines I've ever read.
That is
I feel like we're going to lose it if we talk about the Paramount Plus show, which, I mean, I know for a fact that we haven't even watched a single episode, but from what
I've seen the first one, it's okay so far.
I've seen what he looks like without his helmet. I've heard people describe the actor as he looks like someone who's about to turn his body cam off. And
It's so true.
No.
I need to finish that series for today.
I think we can move on from Halo until it comes time for me to talk about ODST Region 4.
Okay, what should we do next? Because I know, Protector, you probably want to go to bed soon.
From the sound of things, you know, everyone else in the house hasn't made a complaint about me talking about how video games things with other people on the internet, but then again, sleep schedules are kind of fucked at the moment.
Yep. So, let's talk... do you want to do Bayo 3 or Neon White?
Neon White was actually going to be what I was going to request.
Next. Want to do Neon White?
Yeah, I wanna hear your in-depth thoughts on it.
Okay.
Okay.
do you want to go first, or should I?
So
I'm listening.
So I keep on hearing, even from friends who aren't KibbsMcGibbs, that Neon White is the peakest shit from 2022, and I'm like, it's not Xenoblade 3 though. But I did play it. I picked it up in spring of this year, and I played it in the summer. I think it was the summer or fall. But the story sucks doo-doo cock, honestly.
Bro.
You know what? I don't think it's the story itself that's that bad. I think it's just the dialogue. I'm saying it.
Yeah, I like the concept of the story, but
I also don't like. Also,
I
Neon
think the
Violet's...
idea of the story is like fine. It's nothing revolutionary, but I don't think the story is the problem. I think it's just.
Can we all agree Neon Violet's like the worst of the neons?
Okay, but she has a good design.
She has a good design, but her dialogue and her VA aren't doing her justice.
Her VA is fine.
I don't like her VA, honestly. Like,
Can you
if the
explain as to why?
she has like this squeaky girly. It's very like stereotypical teenage girl like.
She fits into like the, for lack of a better word, like cute psycho trope, which I'm not typically nuts about unless it's done really well. But like, I don't have any more issues with like how she's written than I have with like anyone else. I think she's fine.
I just find her voice irritating after a while. Unlike Neon White, who has a pretty dang good voice, I must say.
Well, it is Steve Blum doing his best.
Oh, it's Steve
2022. It is just the Spike Spiegel.
The Scare, Heat Blast, and Ghost Freak.
And also little known 90s anime character Spike Spiegel, you know.
Okay, we represented anime and Ben 10 in one person.
The Spike Spiegel is relevant because that's literally what they're going for with the Neon character. Like, I'm sure they wrote him with the idea of getting Steve Blum in mind. So
yeah, the story I didn't enjoy. Everyone was like, but you should skip the cutscenes. I'm like, if I'm gonna talk about a game, I'm gonna experience most, if not all of it. So I need to.
Hell, if you're gonna play a game, you might as well experience pretty much all of it. Like, what's the point in having cutscenes if everybody tells you to skip them? Like, you might as well experience that story, as it is before you decide whether or not you're gonna skip cutscenes in future playthroughs.
I did like those 3D like end of chapter animations.
I love his big finger.
His big finger. It reminded
me out.
I love it so much. It's so funny.
It freaked me out so much. I was like,
It reminded me of
cool
Persona.
for a dead guy.
It reminded me of Persona 5 with the stained glass window in the background.
It's so large.
So many iconic lines from that game, though. I did a lot of speedrunning with it. I just keep on getting better and better.
So yeah, story. I wasn't jiving with it. Dialogue wasn't jiving with it. Violence VA wasn't jiving with it. Every other VA except maybe Neon Yellow recently. What were good, but the gameplay, holy fucking shit. The gameplay saves the game, honestly. Like way more than it should.
You say saves the game.
Yeah,
it didn't need saving. That gameplay is so good, and you just happen to have like a poorly written story tacked onto it. Who cares?
Yeah,
I don't care. I'm coming in. I'm saying it. Neon White is retroactively my favorite game of 2022. I adore Neon White. It is
it's
so
better.
good.
Wait. You say it's better
there for me.
You say it's better than Trails in the Sky SC?
Oh no, I said of 2022.
I'm about to say like this year. I'm like,
It is my favorite. Yeah, I did not play it when it came out, but I loved Neon White so much going through it. I knew I was gonna like it. I did not know I was gonna love it that much.
So they showed it off first. I want to say in like a direct, and the second I saw the game, I was like, this is gonna be one of my favorites. This is gonna make it my top 25 games ever, and it has. And everyone looked at me like I was crazy because they're like, this just looks like a weird little game. And then I convinced other people to play it, and they're like, oh, this is.
It was a game that. So I follow a guy that retweets some like indie projects sometimes. So I saw it even before that direct. That's also actually how I discovered Pizza Tower too. That's neither here nor there.
God.
Yeah, so I saw it, I saw the trailers, and I did not get it. I'm like, it's a first-person shooter with, like, cards? That doesn't sound fun. And then I just kind of kept my eye off it, and then my roommate bought it, and he was like, this game is incredible. You gotta play it at some point. And I watched him play it, and I'm like, oh, I misunderstood what this game's vibe was. Okay, hold on.
What I like about the gameplay is that like you look at the footage and like, oh, it's an FPS, but no, it's barely an FPS. It's more so a platformer.
Speedrunning game. I am a sucker for speedrunning.
It is a game that you click a button and then the endorphins in your brain go into overdrive.
This is gonna make me sound like an outcast, but I haven't had that feeling yet.
Oh, it was like.
I'm still working towards getting all the diamond relics, but like, God, some of those relics are fucking.
Yeah, this man was okay with hitting next when he had bronze medals.
I was gonna say I never went to the next level until I hit I hit diamond or platinum or whatever it is. I also
think it's platinum.
For a little meaningless humble brag, I was #1 in the world on the Switch version for a good period of time.
Big signpost on Switch version.
I know. I have to add that little disclaimer. On Switch.
It's actually still an impressive achievement, regardless.
Yeah.
I will say too, it's still good on console, even though it is a first-person shooter. I had a blast with the game. It's so good. The story I literally started skipping at some point because it was just so bad. It's just not good. But I don't think anyone's going to Neon White caring about the story. So
Hi, how are you?
Okay. I don't know.
And you know what? You know what else I want to talk about?
Oh, no.
So I had never heard of Machine Girl prior to Neon White. So listen to some of their stuff. They're not bad. It's a good soundtrack. They got some okay music. I'm typically not like much for like an electronic guy, but
Yeah, soundtrack's pretty good.
Yeah, I really like the soundtrack. It just works. But yeah, no, Neon White's one of my favorite games ever. I adore that game.
The absolute geniuses of, hey, don't worry, when you restart the level, the music is still playing, so it just feels like, oh, okay, cool. That just reinforces time to do another run. Let's go.
Yeah,
I will say the most fun I had with Neon White was when I was talking with Knack, streaming it and trying to like get the diamond relics, and I beat his time, and he went straight back into the cages and beat my time!
Yeah, and then I figured out a new route and I beat it.
No, I showed you the new route, and you did better, and then I got better than you, and then you did better than me!
Yeah, but I tightened the route up because you made a lot
you guys should get the red medals on every level.
I have gotten most of the red medals in the first 2 worlds, and I was briefly doing it, but then I stopped because I realized I would just start playing, and then I wouldn't stop, and then I wasn't playing other video games. So
That's valid. Like Trails, you know?
Alright. No, this was actually after I played all my Trails for the years. This was right after Azure. I picked up Neon White.
You know?
I enjoyed Neon White still. It was a fun game. But I wouldn't call it is a favorite of mine of 2022, but I wouldn't put it above the likes of Xenoblade 3 or Cult of the Lamb.
Cult of the Mid, bro.
Bro, oh no, you know what? Fuck it, we're adding Cult of the Lamb on this because that game's fucking
Cult
awesome.
Cult of the Lamb is so mid.
Oh yeah, I'm fine. I think I've said everything I can say with Neon White. Go for it, kiddos.
Alright.
Do you want to talk more about Neon White?
No, I feel like I've said my points. Like, I really like this game. It makes me really happy. It's a good-ass video game.
It's so much fun. I love it.
But, Cult of the Lamb. So I learned throughout last year that I might be a fan of roguelites. Like, Hades is already one of my favorite games of all time. Like,
I'm a huge fan of roguelikes.
Are you? You're not giving me that vibe, honestly.
All right. You want me to go through the list? Binding of Isaac. I want you to know, just in Binding of Isaac, I have 1,000 hours. I have 1,000 hours in Binding of Isaac. I played Binding of Isaac Rebirth 100% of that game. Back when the Lost was a character that died in one hit. I beat every boss. I beat every boss with the Lost. I beat the boss rush with the Lost. So like Mega Satan, Blue Baby, everyone. I beat them with a character that dies instantly when getting hit. I adore the Binding of Isaac. Dead Cells, super peak. One of my favorite games ever. I absolutely love Dead Cells. I'm trying to think of other roguelikes because they're all like escaping me right now. But
Vampire Survivors?
I don't like Vampire Survivors. That one does not look appealing to me. I haven't played it, granted, but no, I love roguelikes. So many. I know. I'm like blanking on literally all of them.
Enter the Gungeon.
I like Enter the Gungeon. I think it's got some issues. Slay the Spire is pretty fun until it's not. But anyways, I love roguelikes. Cult of the Lamb really didn't do it for me though. It was too repetitive. I know roguelikes whole things is kind of repetitive, but I didn't feel like it was shaking it up. Not like nearly as enough as it should have. Also, it was very easy.
I didn't find it easy, honestly.
But did you find it easy? Because Megaman drops today.
Oh, true. I was talking memes. Oh no, we dated the video. Now they know we
dated
on
it,
January
bro.
7th.
We dated it. Now it's gonna. We dated it already. Just mentioning it, and it's not gonna come out today, bro. This is just Wreck-It Ralph breaks the internet all over again. But well, my favorite thing about Cult of the Lamb is that I like the cult part of it actually. That sounds so wrong. Yes, I like the cult. But
you go on.
I just like the cult part of it because it feels like you're a sadistic way of starting a community.
So, the game.
I love sacrificing animals so that my cult members can be happy. That gives me serotonin.
The game feels like a 15-hour long episode of Happy Tree Friends, and I hate it for that.
I haven't seen Happy Tree Friends.
Oh,
Tree Friends.
That just unlocked some memories.
Sorry.
I have not thought of Happy Tree Friends in probably like 10-15 years, and I think I'm just better off for it.
Yeah, there's no that the Cult of the Lamb reminded me of that, and I was like, oh,
All I know about Happy Tree Friends related shit is that some of the writers of that worked on Sonic Colors, I think, or Generations.
Crazy.
Sonic Colors, Generations, Lost World, Forces,
Rise of Lyric.
I forgot Hades existed. That's one of my favorite roguelikes.
I was you didn't mention Hades.
Yeah, I forgot about Hades, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, a sequel's coming out this year, maybe.
Oh yeah, true.
Or it's early access. I don't know. I just show. I'm excited for it. But I like the cult aspect of it because it definitely is like the more it's what made me like it a lot because it's so interesting. Like the whole like, oh, you can sacrifice a member and you can have like a bet. You can run to like its reincarnation or something in the next run. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I also like the combat's very simple, but I like how there's different weapons you can use, like daggers, swords, axes, like that kind of thing. So it's like, you know which one's going to be your favorite. I'm personally a dagger guy. Not that big damage-wise, but it's definitely fast, so you could, because I don't like slow weapons in, like, very action-heavy games like hack and slashes or roguelikes, or your Hades, and I just stick with the regular sword. But I also really like the bosses and the design. Honestly, the art style of Cult of Lamb, on point, very on point. It's so I want to say crayon. It's what's the word I'm thinking of?
Pastel.
Yeah, pastel like, yeah.
Two-dimensional.
Two-dimensional.
Wow, it's like, whoa, it's two-dimensional. Wow, my hand's in 3 dimensions. Well, thanks, Knack. Oh,
It's
Just figured I'd provide some insightful commentary.
But honestly, my biggest problem with Cult of Lamb is that it has such a huge, like, not huge in retrospect, but like, I don't think you were expected to have 20 cult members to reach the final boss. Like when I beat all 4 areas and I was like, okay, you can head to the final boss. I had like 8 cult members. So I just needed to grind out as cult members in the 4 areas to get to the final boss. And also the bosses gave me like a Souls-like vibe to it, honestly. So that's probably why I like it as well, because the bosses have like a Souls-like feel to them.
That's fair. I found the game felt kind of shallow, just across the board. I wish the gameplay aspect of like going in and going through the dungeons felt better, I guess. I don't know how else to really put it. It didn't feel like there was it didn't capture what I think makes a lot of roguelikes feel different in each run. I don't think like Binding of Isaac, every single run of Binding of Isaac is a billion times different than the last. But that game also has like literally 1,000 items. But like, you know, look at a game like Dead Cells or Hades, where the things are more subtle. You choose a weapon before, but when you go inside, a lot more like more and more starts to kind of change as you go on. You get new abilities. I think Cult of the Lamb really missed out on that part of it. I felt like I would just run in and do stuff, and then I'd win, and then I'd go take care of the cult members. And
one thing Cult of the Lamb doesn't have that Hades has is good-looking character.
True. That's the real problem.
But no, Cult of the Lamb is probably my, excluding Last of Us Part 1, my second favorite game of 2022.
I actually have a story about this.
What?
About Cult of the Lamb. I was raised in a very Christian household, and my sister sent me a message warning me about the game Cult of the Lamb. But I had already bought it. I mean, I was gonna play it anyways, regardless of. She's just like, "Be careful about Cult of the Lamb. It has satanic undertones and it's unholy." And I'm like, "All right." I was like, "All right, thank you for letting me know. I'll be sure to let everyone else know." and so I had to mark myself as offline on the Switch. Oh no! And then when I decided I was done with the game, I opened up like 13 other games, and then turned the online status back on, so that way if you looked at my profile, it wouldn't show Cult of the Lamb on there. So it was just like, all right,
He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. He's very religious.
It's so funny. It was so
You should
funny.
have done. You should have messaged your
Did they ever
sister.
find out?
What?
Did your sister find out? That's what he's asking.
Oh no.
No,
She has no idea.
What you should have said was like, technically Christianity is a cult in of itself, so therefore we're all under a cult.
No, actually, I feel like maybe that could have gone bad, Derek.
I think that could have gone like pretty badly. you know.
Anyways,
By the way, the reason I suggested we started like the time we did was because I was at church.
Ah, Christ.
Imagine a child bringing their Switch to church, playing Cult of the Lamb. And that's the fucking pastor would probably put holy water on that Switch.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, it
Anyway.
seems like Cult of the Lamb convo is wrapping up, so I just
Yeah.
want to say I have not played this game, but the creators of the game did draw a picture of the lamb making out with the bird from Angry Birds, and I think that is pretty cool.
That's some good advertising. That's
did
good advertising.
And they did something else too that was really fun. Oh yeah, it was when Unity did that thing where they said they're gonna apply the license. As a bit, they just said, yeah, we're just gonna delete Cult of the Lamb on the 24th or something like that. So all I know is they like to shitpost on social media, so they get my approval from that.
No, I love their Twitter account. It's so funny.
Okay, we'll talk about Battle Network next then, I guess.
Alright then, Kibbs, this is the part where you go over Bayonetta 1 before I decide then to go through my own journey through the series.
You know, I don't think I can like.
I watched him play the finale. He was seething.
So I guess I'll put it like this: Battle Network 1 isn't even worth the effort to complain about. That's all I have to say.
It's the first game. Like, they're
It's-
still trying to grab their footing.
I know it's the first game and they're still trying to get their footing, but the game is so boring. The game is it's just so nothing. It's not fun to.
This is the part where I decided to go over, alright, so for clarity, this technically should probably be a part of the games of 2023 podcast, because, that's when the Bayonetta Legacy Collection dropped on PS4, Switch, and PC. No Xbox release, because I guess Megaman doesn't do all that well on Xbox X or something, I don't know, even though the Bayonetta Legacy Collection reached like a million sales
if this is
within
a
2 weeks.
2023 release, why are we talking about it now?
I just don't personally think collection should be under under Games of the Year, honestly.
I mean,
I was gonna say,
whatever.
if
Anyway.
we're defining that kind of stuff, then I could talk about We Love Katamari right now, but I won't.
we'll just take that for another time. Anyways, Battle Network Legacy Collection, very much a long time coming. As someone who did spend quite a bit of time with Battle Network during his teenage years when he was really getting into Mega Man. In fact, there was a time when there was a major hyperfixation on Battle Network specifically, and I even have a few of the games on my Wii U. Primarily Battle Network 2, BN3 White, BN4 Blue Moon, BN5 Team Colonel, and both versions of 6. You can tell which one's the favorite.
4.
The big thing I was, curious about going into the Battle Network Legacy Collection is I haven't been 1 and 3, and it's been a while since I've played any of these games in general. Like, how is it going to stack up? And, well, I can tell you this much. 6 is still at the top. 2 right behind it. That was the biggest surprise. I was honestly expecting, 5 or 3 to be, second place. Those are tied for third, but I might just put 5 if above 3. 4 is right behind those, but it's very close. I actually think that one still plays law despite its problems. And then at the bottom, by a very, very wide margin, Battle Network 1.
You're probably the only person I know who puts 4 over 1.
Trust me, if you ever bother to interact with the Mega Man community, you'd find that there are a lot more people who prefer 4 over 1 than I. But anyways, Battle Network 1. It is one of my least favorite games of all time. Just opening that up right now,
Me
it is one of the
too.
very few games to irritate me so much that I genuinely never want to play it again. And made doubly worse by the fact that to get the Platinum Trophy for Volume 1, I had to fully complete it. Like, no whole other way around it. It was just like all battle chips, every last one, and okay. In every way, the Bayonetta 1 could be the worst case of first game syndrome. It pretty much is. Because, boss fights are just a complete snooze fest because they tend to rely way too much on one little fancy gimmick, but they can barely do anything beyond that. As such, when a boss isn't annoying, it's boring. Which is what I feel about a lot of them. Fireman looks cool as hell, but even for a first boss, he's just way too easy. Numberman does nothing but sit in the back row and chuck his balls at you. Oh, and then there's Color Man, known as Wacko Man in the NT Warrior English dub, who just does things with his giant puff-up dolls that spew fire and water at you. Very interesting. And then there's the annoying ones, like Magic Man, who keeps sending some of the most annoying enemies at you, including an Aqua Element Swordy that can steal more of your arena, which is very nice. But when it came to the bosses, the only one that ever made me feel something, like there was actually something decent going on, was Shadow Man. But even then, I've already seen what he can do in Bayonetta 2 and Bayonetta 5 Team Colonel, so what's the point? And in general, the combat wasn't really keeping me invested, mainly because trying to build an optimal chip folder was much more irritating without the asterisk code that would be introduced in Bayonetta 2. Meaning, you really do have to make it like 1 or 2 letters, which also means that Bayonetta 1 is the most guilty of the alphabet soup problem with your battle chip folders, because with this in mind, you could be stacking several chips of different letters, and that means you can only get 1 out per turn, and which is not fun because that makes the whole thing drag, and you need to get high ranks against virus battles to get a steady amount of battle chips. But here's the problem. Getting the highest rank does not guarantee you get a battle chip. It will still have a chance of generating money, which isn't always helpful. So dungeons are just kind of whatever, but special mention goes to the power plant because that actually blows, and I whipped out a guide just to make sure that I wasn't stuck in there forever. And mind you, I had promised to myself that I was not turning on Bustamax for Bayonetta 1 until I was done with the main campaign. I was playing that shit raw. And, well, it is like raw meat in a sense. Uncooked, hurt, highly capable of making you feel miserable. Well, and then of course, there's the thing that really grinded my gears, like, above all else. The main internet sucks. Like, and
it's just a bunch of E's.
With the main, there's a difference between the main internet and the various compounds you can access for dungeons. A lot of those compounds tend to have more unique aesthetic designs, things that help make navigation a lot easier, even without the need for a map. But the main internet is literally just same shit, slightly different area, and you can never quite figure out what the hell you're supposed to be doing. And to the point where I strongly doubt many people could get through Bayonetta 1 comfortably without the use of a map. And I'll say this right now, if you're going to play Bayonetta 1, fish out the maps from the Rockman EXE Stone website, because that helps considerably, especially when you're going battle chip hunting for full completion. And on that note, don't do it. I only did it for a trophy, a platinum trophy, if you will, and I'm not doing it again.
Just don't.
It was just such a tedious and miserable experience, and there wasn't even a fun little gimmick to help alleviate this. No style change, no double souls, none of that. The only thing you get to play around with are elemental armors, and even then you don't even get one for each element, which blows, like, quite frankly. Hey, and the final boss against the life virus was a boss. It existed. But it was just... See, that's the problem with Bayonetta 1, I feel. Like, because you have to account for the fact that the player might not be able to get battle chips as frequently as they probably should, the boss fights are dialed back considerably in their difficulty, and even Proto Man just goes down like a little bitch. You literally just have to stand in one place, wait for him to pop up in front of you, and then you can just nail a powerful shot. Even a charge shot will be enough to stun him and reset his cycle. I'm just like, Shard, Proto Man, the two of you are better than this. You're supposed to be the main rivals for Land and Megaman. The only thing I actually liked about Bayonetta 1 was its story, and I felt like it was a pretty fun romp on its own, complete with the slap to the face. That was the plot twist of, oh shit, Megaman is actually Land's dead brother because of a genetic heart condition that everyone in the Hikari family, barring Haruka, Land's mom, has. And so now it's actually, probably the most interesting part of it. Like, you've technically been playing alongside your dead brother all this time, and there's a very real chance that the two of you might not make it out.
I do just want to interject real quick that I do plan to play some of these games someday.
Just get the bow.
I'm gonna
Just
really
making if we can just avoid maybe like
let me
deeper
just-
spoilers.
There are no deep spoilers about Bayonetta 1. The rest of the series is more than happy to spoil that. In fact, spoilers about Bayonetta 6 early on. They just
I think
Okay.
no.
Alright.
The point here is Knack doesn't want to hear like spoilers about the game.
At least like the story.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. Like, this is one case where it's common knowledge. Like, if you even get
even if it's common knowledge, if Knack doesn't know it, then he doesn't want to know it, then I think that should be respected.
Yeah. It'd be like if I told you the entire story of Star Force.
Yeah. I mean, I understand if we've got complaints with the stories. I just don't know if this is necessarily the place for that.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well, at least not like the
Bayonetta 1
deeper
has
like
nothing
ones.
else of any worth besides that one thing, and later games just call back to it so frequently that I don't feel it even counts as much of a spoiler.
Well,
like, if you're coming
Sure,
in,
but
and-
if we're gonna do summaries of the future ones, I don't want to hear anything like deep story wise about them. If that's okay.
Yay. Well, I mean, that just kind of kills a lot of the mood for a discussion, but I'll try anyways.
Just talk about the
Okay.
gameplay improvements at that point, then,
I mean,
or improvements, quote unquote, with 4.
I'm just anyways, just after going through Bayonetta 1 and actually being it for the first time, I was like, this actually kind of blows. Like, I think this might have been decent for its time, but it's very much a case of, why would you play this now? It also kind of hurts that they don't have the Operation and Star Force first re-release based on the DS, known in Japan as Operate Shooting Star. So you don't even get the addition of a map feature or, the Star Force content that's incredibly minimal, which effectively means that it's just a Bayonetta 1 re-release instead of, an actual proper crossover between the two series. But anyways, Bayonetta 2 was just an improvement across the board, like everything, simply by making sure that the various areas of the main internet actually have unique designs and had memorable designs so that you can easily navigate throughout most of it, and it's only with the ones that are deliberate mazes is that you would even get lost in, already great points to that. But in general, it was just an improvement. And gameplay-wise, asterisk code has finally been introduced, which means you have a lot more flexibility with your battle chip folder setup. And it goes a long way. Like, if you can get any battle chip in the asterisk code, highly recommend that you do so. Because that can immediately make your entire playstyle a lot more flexible. It can't apply to every battle chip, mind you, but it is as a start. And on a note of battle chips, I also want to bring attention to the series equivalent to Limit Break's program advances. Wasn't really a fan of most of them in Bayonetta 1, because they were just, the same battle chip attack you could repeat ad nauseum when you were invincible, but it was absolutely terrible against bosses. because you couldn't get off that much damage. With all the invincibility frames. Means Bayonetta 2 makes it a point to have more, like big, powerful attacks for the program advances instead of just something like the Zaya Cannon. And in fact, BN2 is where we got the iconic program advance Life Sword, taken straight from the Life Virus. That's in BN1, and it's been a staple of the series ever since. In fact, a lot of players, both new and old, they're gonna have the Life Sword program advance once they get the components necessary. Hey, just having sword, wide sword, long sword, all of the same code in that order. And you've got a big 2x3 reach with 400 damage typically, and that right there, already a massive step up. But let's not beat around the bush, because Bayonetta 2 even incorporates a transformation system into the mix with the style change, and the only one you ever need is custom style, because gut style just increases the attack power of your buster at the cost of its rapid fire, which I feel kind of defeats the point of it. It gives you super armor in Bayonetta 2 from the start, but it's not always something you really need. Shield style. Well, I mean, if you're good with defensive chips, that could work, but it's not really that practical. And while Team Style does allow you to equip more Navi chips, I feel like that's only for the newbies that really want to fall back on those, especially the ones you can get at basically for free, akin to how they were obtained in the Wii U Virtual Console ports. Custom Style, on the other hand, it just allows you to select more battle chips right from the get-go, and that is a godsend when getting out a powerful program advance or a bunch of good battle chips pretty much back-to-back. Heck, but I do feel like it has potential. Where I kind of draw the line in the sand is the amount of battles you need to grind up to get a new style, on top of the fact that the element is always random, and there is a bit of a, tier system involved. Like, if you get, heat or aqua as elements, you're pretty much set. And even wood is fairly decent if you can get a grass stage battle chip up and running. Electric element, however, you just get a glorified Zap Ring charge tech that can't even one-shot a basic Metar at its strongest, and it's honestly kind of terrible. Oh, never go for Elect style. Just go for any of the others, but preferably Heat and Aqua. And, as for the story, just to sum it up, strangely enough, it feels like it's the most down-to-earth of all the Bayonetta plots. Not just because of the increasingly relevant means of cyber-terrorism, but also just the lack of shits they gave about the age rating. It might be E for everyone, but I don't think it was the family-friendly kind of everyone, if you catch my drift. There is some mild swearing, someone even an outright, it says, God bless, name of the evil organization. And it's kind of nuts, and I'm just skimming over some of the more eyebrow-raising moments, but in a way, it just helped make everything come together nicely. Helps that, in general, the characters were really well written, and especially when it came to the true identity of the big bad, which I can't elaborate on because Knack doesn't want to hear it. But honestly, if any of these games were to get, my favorite story of the series award, it was absolutely going to be Bayonetta 2. That one was just surprising. It's just how much it hit. Really good stuff. And I feel like in general, it does away with a lot of what made Bayonetta 1 terrible. There is still that one moment you gotta get a specific battle chip to progress, which is annoying, and you won't always know where it is. And it can be especially annoying if you've triggered a refight with a boss that's in that area, but that does tend to happen in a lot of these games. Games where you just gotta get that one battle chip to progress, but most of the time, it's not bad at all. Oh, and I really do just appreciate Bayonetta 2 so much for everything it did. It might as well be the actual first game. And in fact, honestly, if it weren't for Buster Max, I would just tell people to skip Bayonetta 1 and play Bayonetta 2. That is a far, far better game. Like, the increase in quality is so astronomical. It's making a Megaman and 02's improvements to 1 and blush in comparison. And of course, my siblings decided I need tweezers just right this second. I'm trying to talk about something. I mean, can't I just communicate over the phone? Anyways. Bayonetta 3, this one was a little iffy coming off of 2. Just,
Really?
I don't know. Okay, Bayonetta 3 is often hailed as the best in the series, with 2 and 6 being close contenders, but after playing it, both versions for all trophies, mind you, and even delving into post-game content, and in White specifically, I don't fully get it. Like, okay, I'm just gonna say this right now. Plot's really good, just doesn't hit quite as close to home as 2 does, but it is really good as an intended finale for the Bayonetta series before Capcom decided they wanted to head more. Or I do like Navi Customizer system, since it allows for a lot more flexibility in Mega Man's repertoire. It even makes it so that, you know, chips that granted passive abilities like, you know, Undershirt in Bayonetta 2 don't even need to be a thing, so that you can free up more space for other battle chips you'll actually want to have. There is so much you can do with it, and it is really good across the board, or in later entries, but I feel like in a hasty attempt and to make sure players would interact with it, they had a bunch of programs that you had to equip to be able to progress through the game. Like energy change for, you know, 2 specific story beats. It's, you know, then one that apparently makes Mega Man look intimidating enough to interact with the denizens of the Undernet, which, you know, then loses its purpose shortly after. And then the one you'll keep for just basic internet navigation, and at a certain point, and, you know, press, as in compress, is where you just have it so that Mega Man can walk on thin pathways, and it's like, this is a waste of space, especially when you don't get the key items that help you expand the Navi Customizer program area. And unlike Bayonetta 6, where you can experiment with putting programs outside of the frame, and so as long as you have a means to eliminate any bugs that crop up as a result of it, you can't really do that with a Navi Customizer in 3 or 4 and 5, but it's much more of a problem here because, again, story-relevant programs, and it just blows. Not helped by the other thing that kind of blows about it. So many of the programs are locked behind styles. Tails, you want super armor for Mega Man in general? You gotta grind for Buster style. You want to be able to expand your battle trip selection at the start of a battle without having to sacrifice any battle chips? Grind up custom, and do this and that and pit-a-pat, which is doubly infuriating because unlike Bayonetta 2 where you could carry 2 styles, you only get the one in Bayonetta 3. Hey, and while they did lower the amount of battles you need to grind, it kind of annoys me because there's one thing I don't like doing in a lot of games, especially RPGs, it's grinding. But at times, Bayonetta 3 will buckle to that, whether it's for optional stuff like getting some of the better Navi Customizer programs, or in mandatory cases where you do gotta buy a Navi Customizer program just to make sure that you can encounter an enemy in a specific area that otherwise has an astronomically low chance of showing up, all to get the Ice Ball and Battle Chip to give to someone, which... not a fan of that, so that technically marks 4 programs you need to buy. And in general, well, it just felt like the game wasn't as strong because of this. And while I do like most of the boss fights, some of them just ran straight into the field of being completely and utterly annoying. Special shoutouts to Bubble Man, who is pretty much the most infamous net Navi of all time. And just because of what he makes you go through to reach him, in the boss fight that, unless you got extremely lucky that, like I did, you won't have the perfect setup needed to absolutely eviscerate him in one shot. But to put it simply, you basically need to have an electric element style just to use the specific battle chip, and then said specific battle chip is tied to a lotto number that you basically need to have a guide to even know about it before or you can even find its lotto number in game. And it's a shame too, because there was so much that Bayonetta 3 did do right, but I feel like it just caved in and alluded too much to some of the more annoying aspects, and boss design was definitely a bit all over the place. You had some winners for sure, but then you had Bubble Man, and I know a lot of people also just despise Flame Man and Drill Man, and Drill Man was actually kind of alright in this story, just so as long as I used chips that got around his defenses, but yeah, it was a roller coaster. It was still pretty damn good, but I'll say this right now, it's not for the faint of heart, and it does do some pretty dumb things, which had ultimately just shot it down in the ranking. Bayonetta 4, just gonna go over this real quick. Love the new art style. Hell, and especially what it does for the character mugshots. I love the double soul system as a gameplay mechanic, especially since it's much closer to the idea of Megaman copying powers from other robot masters in the classic series. Only this time you actually transform into an outfit resembling that net navi, akin to what how the design mentality was for the special weapons in Mega Man 11. Now that I think about it, I love what they can do with all the various double souls, else even if some of them do ultimately suck by comparison, and you know, I just love the designs of those in general. I do feel like they could have been buffed a bit in some ways, like having naturally customizer programs dedicated to extending any amount of time they could stay out, or even being able to affect the damage output of their charge shot. But otherwise, pretty good. You know, I like that now the cannons have their own equivalent to the life sword instead of just the Zaya cannon bullshit over and over again. And it was neat to see the idea of, you know, involving space-like entities long before Star Force would make that the focus. The problem I feel like with Bayonetta 4 is that the main story is pretty much just put to the side for a bunch of tournament arcs, and mind you, Bayonetta 3 already had an arc in its story centered around a tournament, and so that doesn't exactly help, and it ultimately just becomes a random escapade of the week with no real lessons learned. It's also super hard to even determine which of these scenarios are canon to begin with. I have a problem similar to Shadow the Hedgehog, and to be able to have access to everything in the game, even just having all 6 double souls, you have to play for it 3 times. And since there's a new Paint Plus system involved, where, you know, all that really changes is the availability of certain battle chips, and, you know, the difficulty of the enemies and bosses, which, for a lot of viruses, it does get pretty annoying. I mean, that said though, just by simply having all these gameplay improvements over the past 3 entries, I would much rather take over Bayonetta 1, because at the very least I can just customize a far more optimal chip folder and have an interesting mechanic in the form of the double souls. But for the dark chips, they're basically a complete nothing burger. If you play even somewhat competently, they'll never be a problem. Although you do now have a counterattack system involved, where if you manage to kill an enemy or to simply damage it right as it's performing an attack in a certain frame, then your next attack can deal double damage, and the most skilled of players can keep this going for as long as they want, which really cool. I'll really appreciate full synchro being put into gameplay, starting from Bayonetta 4. But then, of course, Bayonetta 5, it's just Bayonetta 4, but better, with a side of Fire Emblem. Liberation missions are basically your strategy, game gimmick of the week. And I actually like how they managed to adapt it with the Bayonetta system in mind. and especially with the various tiers of rewards, that really skilled players can absolutely relish in. And the double soul system was massively improved with not just buffs to charge attacks if you don't have the programs as needed to buff your buster stats, but also the presence of chaos unisons, where with sacrificing a dark chip of a specific element tied to that double soul, you can use that charge. You can use that dark chip as a charge attack, but at a cost. You actually have to time the release of it, otherwise Dark Megaman comes out and wails on you for 13 seconds with practically everything in your arsenal, program advances included. And it's a nice risk-reward system, though it does provide some pretty broken setups. Like, put it this way, Number Chaos plus Super Vulcan equals absolute death and destruction to anything without super armor. It is absolutely nuts, and I'm here for it. And plot was pretty decent, and actually forming a dedicated team against the evil organization instead of just simply being this random kid going about dealing with these matters. And it is nice how they bring back certain characters from the past and elaborate on them a bit more. But nothing else to add other than I sincerely wish they gave us, the DS as re-release. It's called Double Team, just as an extra option. But yeah, and Bayonetta 6, it is pretty much the gameplay of Bayonetta refined to a mirror sheen. Like, just really friggin' and good. Soundtrack is at its best, even with the chiptune style they have been going with for the entire series. Even got the composer of Bayonetta 2 and 3 and maybe 1 back to do 6's soundtrack, and yeah, you can tell, especially with the fan favorite boss theme Surge of Power, and the new mechanics added like Crossos and Beast Out. Well, I just adore. Or, story's also pretty alright and returns to how things typically were handled in the first 3 games, so for that I appreciate, and especially with the new setting, adding some twists and turns to help keep things fresh for this final entry. But I haven't got much else to say here, other than it was really good revisiting, every game after 1, and I would highly recommend both volumes of the collection. And in fact, just beyond the collection itself, it did have some weird quirks when it was initially released that had to be patched out, like the rewards for the virus battlers minigame in Bayonetta 6 being a bit borked if you were playing it in English, but that's long since been dealt with. But the best part of it all was just getting Megaman's VA from NT Warrior back. Just like it was as in the old days. And it was the best part, just seeing Mega Man comment on practically everything you did and having reactions to some of the things you did, like mashing the menu options, or even shaking your Switch, which he will reprimand you for. It's like, damn, Andrew Francis never lost his touch. And it was just so nice to hear him again as Mega Man. It's one of the most charming things about it, especially with the unique lines he has for the special skins you can buy for each individual volume. And in general, Capcom once again cooked with the Legacy collections. I just hope that we get something new from Mega Man in the future. But yeah, not much else to say because I'm kind of running out of steam, and not being able to talk about spoilers kind of just cut this in half.
Probably for the better, let's be honest.
It's still going on for almost a half hour.
Yeah, it's been like a half hour.
Bayonetta Legacy Collection is like half off by the time this is being made, so I would recommend hopping on it now, because otherwise the price for both volumes combined is like $60. And while it is worth it, especially when you consider you have access to online chip trading and net battles, Also, it is still a bit of an ask as compared to past collections.
Not to be a downer, we are already an hour and a half over what the original target was.
Yeah. And we still. Oh my God, Jesus
So
Christ.
let's be quicker with some of the next couple.
We have 2 left. We have 2 left.
Okay.
We have 2 left. We're good. I'm just gonna comment that Battle Network is a series I like. And it's really fun, excluding 1 and 4. I just prefer the platformer Mega Man games, excluding ZX, over Battle Network and the first Star Force game. Okay, let's talk about Bayonetta 3.
I think people are too mean to this game.
I think people aren't mean enough to this game. That's not true, actually. I think people are too mean to the
People are
game,
very
but
mean to
I
the
also don't like it.
That is fair. I think too much of this game's discourse revolves around the story.
I agree.
I honestly don't understand like hate for Bayonetta stories because, well, except for the first one. The first one's like the only one I see people like. But like, well, I don't even know.
I will say it is a particularly like bad story, even by Bayonetta standards.
I just see most hack and slash stories as like a way for us to get to the next action set.
What I think this is my perception at least. I think to an extent people's dissatisfaction with the story I think has led to other aspects of the game getting blown up in discussion in ways that I don't think it would be if the story didn't upset them so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like trying to find ways to make it definitively the worst Bayonetta title when I like honestly had just as much fun with it as I had with the other 2. Because I went in expecting like, oh no, this is the bad one. Uh-oh.
This is the bad one.
So I think most people just. I think what
low.
also made people cement as the worst one's the VA discourse.
I'd actually think that kind of blew over pretty quick when that was all said and done. Like,
but like people saying like, oh, it's not the same as the original character. Like
most
that kind
people
of thing.
turned on Helena after a week.
Yeah.
That's because Helena was in the wrong.
Well, that's the thing,
I mean,
right?
to be honest, from what I saw, it was more so that they didn't really like Elena and how she handled the whole thing, but at the same time, they also weren't as fond of Jennifer Hale's performance as Bayonetta.
You did a fine job. Like I
haven't played.
If I didn't know there was a VO change, I wouldn't have been able to tell.
I mean, if you
currently
didn't
in the middle of a replay of the first one.
Yeah, like I replayed the first one last year, and I've watched I've seen some things of 3, and I'm like, there's not that big of a difference between them, honestly.
There's not.
Hale does a good enough job of.
She does a good enough job for like. I think it's like a one-time thing. I feel like that should be. I don't know. I just think Bayonetta should just. Well, I know what most of the story in Bayonetta is. I'm just glad that like they have a new character and like she's basically like going to be the main character if there are future games. I'm like, thank fuck, because by Bayonetta 2, I'm just tired of Bayonetta, honestly.
I will say, while I do enjoy playing as that new character, who is also one of the more controversial elements of that game, I do think her gameplay requires a bit of a workaround to be fun, which is unfortunate. Her main mechanic to engage with Witch Time does not involve dodging, but blocking. And the default way of blocking with her is not great. So I ended up just sticking the blocking accessory to push forward, and I found that was a much smoother gameplay experience than using her built-in block, which is a real criticism. I have not.
Did Bayonetta 3 fix the problem I had with 2, where Witch Time was tied to what attack was being used instead of like the actual timing of your dodge?
I am not aware of that mechanic.
So in Bayonetta 2, and this is one of my problems with Bayonetta 2, the Witch Time in 1 was that you had to tie the way you timed your dodge dictated how long your Witch Time was activated for, or how long it's gonna last. In Bayonetta 2, apparently they ditched that mechanic and did it so like depending on which attack it is when your Witch Time lasts. And I'm just like, that just removes the fun of Witch Time. Like
weird.
Like I'm probably going to piss people off. I'm not a big fan of Bayonetta 2. It's just mechanically inferior. So I'm just like, is 3 mechanically better? Than
As
2?
far as I'm aware, Bayo 3, how it works is there's like 2 levels of witch time. There's like a weaker witch time, and which is like half a second.
Yeah.
And then there's like a better witch time, which is like 2 seconds. And it's just based on how close to the window that you dodge. I do not.
Oh, so it's kind of reaching the level 1. Okay, that's all I need. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
I do know Bayonetta 3 still has the same. Bayonetta 3 still has like the 2 weapons per setup thing, where it's like you have one on your arms and one on your legs, and like you.
Bayo 3 actually scales it back.
Really?
You have 2 weapons. That you switch between. That is it.
Yeah.
It's not like one on your arms, one on your legs. It's just you have a weapon in one loadout, a weapon in another.
That just sounds inferior.
I don't think that's actually the problem that I have with Bayonetta 3's combat.
Yeah, 3 has a 3 counters it by just having like a billion weapons.
Yeah. I think
so. I don't really mind them scaling back on the combinations because you already have so many. Now the weapon distribution is a subject in of itself because the second character sure does not get a lot of new stuff compared to Bayonetta.
Yeah, no.
Okay, actually, the gimmick of 3, is it fun?
I did not like it at first. Once I figured out a better way to use it, I started to enjoy it.
I didn't like using it, so I stopped using it, and when I stopped using it, I was having a better time.
Is it better than Umbran Climax, is what I'm asking.
I like it better than
I'll take it.
I don't.
You prefer the win button over the other win button that's mechanically better.
It's it just doesn't seem. It's just not. It's just not as fun. It's clunky. It's like it feels. It just kind of feels gross to use.
It is a weird style of gameplay to add to, because basically Bayonetta now has shades of V from DMC5. But if everything was Shadow,
so the
big boy,
the clunkier one to use of the 3.
But Bayonetta is still fully capable in combat herself and you control them simultaneously. I actually think it is in my opinion, better done idea of the puppeteer character in an action game.
I mean, I'm not I need to replay 3 at some point, because I'm like, I like Bayonetta. I'm just like, I want to play it because I want to see how much they improve on 2, because 2 just feels like a mechanically inferior Bayonetta. It's mechanically inferior.
I do agree with people that 2 is prettier.
2 is pretty. Yeah, 3, even not playing it, 3 is ugly. Yeah.
Bayonetta 3 was actually kind of hard to look at in a lot of situations.
3 looks like there's mud all over the screen.
3 is the Bayonetta game that I wanted to engage with the least, going deeper into it, because there's like the weird little side things you can do with like little side challenges, and I just think a lot of Bayonetta 3's gameplay just feels worse than like Bayonetta 1 and 2. I don't like the big demons you can summon. I don't like the kaiju battles that happen. Those are boring. It's just like, hey, do you have 5 minutes? Cool, we're gonna waste those. And it's just so boring.
At least
I didn't like playing as the new character in question. That was those character I just kind of had to deal with. Playing as Bayonetta was mostly pretty fun. It was mostly pretty fun.
There are some cool weapons in that game.
Yeah,
I love those yo-yos.
The yo-yo. I think it was like my primary.
I saw the yo-yos and I'm like, did they steal a thing from KH3?
Once I got the yo-yos, those were part of my rotation for the entire game.
I know. I think they didn't do quite enough, I feel, with the enemies themselves and the situations that you find yourself in with with the enemies. It could be because I did like interact with the game on the whole a lot less than I did with like 1 and 2, but it's 1 and 2 didn't just feel like run in, mash button, win. Whereas
With
3,
Bayonetta,
it really felt like that.
I feel like with Bayonetta 1, it was like you had to like engage. Like there's a stage where you just don't have witch time, and playing that stage makes you go like, oh, witch time's not a necessity. Like you feel like you like it's not a necessity like how you would feel it is in the gate stages before then. And it's cemented when you play hard mode and you don't have witch time. You just need to focus on your raw skill alone.
Yeah.
But Bayonetta 2...
I will also say for 3, the stealth sections I found inoffensive, but ultimately I kind of wish that was...
I see those as like...
Stuff.
I see those as Platinum games just being Platinum games and being
They weren't
quirky.
They weren't like difficult or annoying enough for me to really be upset about them. Like I found them all to be fairly easy.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
I wish something else could have been done with the character they chose to do
Yeah.
stealth sections.
I am somewhat interested to go into 3. I plan to play it this year at some point. I just hope it's better than 2 because, like I said, I just don't... I think 2 is middling. I don't like the story. I don't jive with the gameplay differences. And I think Umber and Climax is one of the worst gimmicks in any hack and
From
slash.
what I've seen... Or sorry, actually, Kibbs, you go first.
I don't care too much about story in Bayonetta games on the whole, but 3 still kind of was like, ugh, to me.
I know the ending. I know people call the ending like the Bayonetta like end game, the Avengers end game of Bayonetta, even though it's not deserved.
it was
being really nice to the
That's being really nice.
I think like a third of the game I really enjoyed and had a genuine blast with. I just really wasn't a fan of a lot of the other play styles. There was something else I was gonna say, but it's lost on me. I don't know. If I think about it again, I'll pipe up.
I'll give a quick spiel, because from what I've seen, basically, it seems like people who greatly prefer 1 to 2 do seem to enjoy 3, whereas people that find 1 and 2 about equal or even put 2 above 1
I know
generally
Kibbs
don't like 3.
I know Kibbs was like equally fond of 1 and 2.
I give 2 the slight edge.
But it's basically like the same like.
I remember what I was gonna say. I remember what I was gonna say. I think Bayonetta 3 partially like I think Bayonetta 3 needed stronger hardware. I think everything would have felt smoother. Everything would have felt because I think a big part of like using the big guys is it feels like the game slows down drastically when it doesn't need to. Like in terms of its flow.
I think
and
part
so
of the
I think if
reason
it was on better hardware, it would first off look prettier, but also I think it would flow better because it wouldn't be like big guy mode and then we hurt the enemy so bad and then you drop 10 frames and.
I think the scope they were going for with 3 is kind of limited by it being on the Switch, a 7-year-old piece of crap.
100%.
It also too, I think the existence of DMC5 had a big impact.
That
on
definitely
AO3.
hurt it. Yeah.
And if we talk about the successful evolution of those franchises, DMC5 was a considerably better jump. Whereas like Bayo 3 to me, I enjoyed it because it felt like just more of the Bayo gameplay I like, whereas like 5 felt like a proper evolution of DMC.
5 felt like it wanted to expand on DMC's combat, and it definitely did with the Devil Breakers and V.
I have heard some people theorize that maybe some elements of Bayonetta 3 were a direct response to DMC5, like how the function of the new character in the story. I'm not going to go too much into that.
Okay, so I guess that's it on Bayonetta talk. So let's talk about the final game of tonight, which
Woohoo!
Klonoa?
Klonoa. So I know Protector played this game in 2022. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, pretty much, more or less.
And then
right
and
after
then
it came out.
And then me, Kibbs, and Knack played it. Well, I know Knack finished too, like literally like less than 24 hours
Yesterday.
ago. Literally less than 24 hours ago.
Well, no, actually more than 24 hours ago.
But like
Finishing
we basically started them in 2023, basically.
Yeah.
And Luna's even gone into Klonoa as well with
Mhm.
the Fantasy Reverie series collection, so the Klonoa sweep his wheel.
I
So
finished
I'll get my perspective on it out the way first, because I could probably do to grab some water once this is done. And I remember back when the Nintendo Direct revealed the Megaman Banner Legacy Collection was a thing. And they also threw in Pac-Man World Repack on Klonoa. And because my girlfriend wasn't around to watch it when it was live, me and my other friends IRL kept a lid on it until she got to see it for herself, and she was over the moon. And because it was something none of us saw coming, I decided that for her sake, I could get, the remakes on PS4 pretty much as soon as I could, and, well, what I got out of it was a couple of pretty solid puzzle platformers that had some really good stories to tell. Well, in fact, Klonoa 1 is particularly funny because it starts out as this happy, cutesy, funny, cartoony game like you think it would be from the offset, and then boom, your grandpa gets killed off, and you find out everything you knew was a lie. And Klonoa 2 was just a really nice tale on, not rejecting sorrow, because that's honestly a lot more toxic than just simply accepting it for what it is. As don't run away from your problems and whatnot. Just one of the best executed takes on this kind of thing in the platformer I've seen, and also just helps that, in general, the gameplay was really damn solid. But again, I would argue that the stories are truly what make Klonoa special, alongside the games. And the fact that the first game, and story in particular, has made many people cry is a testament to just how good it was. 2 is no slouch either. But yeah, really good games. And I see why she fell in love with the second game in particular, after finally getting to experience both of them. So yeah, that purchase was as an honor of you, sweetheart.
Yeah. You talking about your girlfriend so cute. I don't know why.
Well, because she's the love of my life, and I'd do anything in my power for her, and if any of you decide to upset her, I will rain down agony 1,000-fold.
All you have to do is make them play Mega Man DOS. But I saw that direct, and I was like, oh cool, Klonoa's back. But then Xenoblade 3 was announced, and I was like, what's a Klonoa? But
What's a Klonoa? That's everyone's state of mind prior to the collection coming out.
What's a Klonoa? So I actually decided to play the originals first before I play the remake. Because, they're pretty short-ish games. Like, you can beat them like an afternoon. Or an entire day. if you're two. But, I think the first game is really good. Hold on. I think my problems with the remake of 1 is instantly graphically inferior because it doesn't have the terrible PS1 pixel art that we all love.
Klonoa 1 PS1 actually looks like it's doing like a pop-up book thing, and I love that.
Yeah.
And
I like
Klonoa 1 PRS just looks like another 2.5.
It's another 2.5D game. I'm like,
I only played the collection, but I wish I could have turned the old style graphics on.
oh, if y'all are gonna play this game, the audience, if you're gonna play this game, get it on PC and turn off the bloom. Oh my god, bloom is awful.
Or find your totally working PS1 and play it legally on your PlayStation 1. Wink, wink, like I did. Wink, wink.
That works as well. That works as well. Fuck companies. Fuck companies. Gotcha. But I think one of my biggest problems with Klonoa 1 was that, like, I feel like after a certain point, I just felt like the levels became a little unfair. Like there was just some moments where I'm like, this could have been designed better. I think it was like after the what was World 3 again? It wasn't the forest. That was the second world.
World.
I think World 3 was that water place. I'm pretty sure.
No, I think World 2 is the water, and I think World 3 is the forest.
No, World 1 was the mountain, was your hometown. Then World 2 was the forest, and then World 3, I'm pretty sure was the water place. Because I know there's six.
Because World 2 is where you fight the fish, and then World 3 is where you do the tribes, I think.
I don't know. It's been 10 months since I last played it.
I played both of these like 2 months ago.
This is also just a remaster problem. The ring grab is too short. Like I told you this, Knack. Like how the ring grab. Like
I felt it.
You felt it.
I played Klonoa 1 PS1, and then I played Klonoa 1 PRS like a week later, and PRS just did not feel as tight. There is like something about it where like I kept missing grabs that I was making in the original, and even in the original I felt the ring was like a little too short, but in PRS I felt it especially, and that was unfortunate because that made some sections just a little more tedious than I felt like they needed to be.
I will say the story was great in Klonoa 1. I will say that it's definitely like I'm not entirely in the camp of like platformers don't need stories, but like if you want to have a more engaging story, go for it. And I think Klonoa is like one of those platformers now. So I do think with the internet like hyping it up, it kind of like faltered a bit for me. Like it's kind of like how I was playing Amori last month. And like just like people like gushing about it kind of gave me like this sense of, oh, it's probably gonna be like a great. It was great. It's just like the hype kind of like got me a little like disappointed in it, I guess. Kind of like that effect, if I'm making any sense.
I mean, if you spend any many years on the internet, Klonoa 1's ending is on all those like top 10 saddest video game endings.
Top 10 saddest.
I was well made aware of what was gonna happen before I'd ever even touched it.
I don't remember if the remaster has the option to switch to the Wii voice acting.
It does not.
I grew up with the Wii version.
Like glory.
I kind of wish it did because I'm one of the 10 people who had the Wii version.
That was my first exposure to Klonoa as a thing that exists. I'd never played it, but I'd heard about it when the Wii version came out.
I also didn't find the bosses all that engaging in Klonoa 1. Like it's a great platform. I just wouldn't say it's like one of the best of all time. Honestly, this is probably gonna.
I heavily dislike the second last boss.
I will say I'd also say the same thing with Klonoa 2. Though
Klonoa 2's bosses were pretty mid.
It's like they're better, but they don't explain much on how to deal with them or don't give any indicators, which is the problem.
Well, my feeling is the opposite. I felt they were all too easy to figure out. and then they're like, you'll do their rotations were just. I mean, Klonoa 2 at least like every boss had like a second phase where they changed their pattern up, but most of them I felt were once you figured them out.
I think my biggest problem with Klonoa 2 is how long the stages go for. Like, holy shit.
I actually kind of really like that about Klonoa 2, because Klonoa 1 on the whole was fine to me. Like, I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't. It didn't stand out to me too much. 2 is where everything kind of like really started to stick.
I think I prefer 1 in terms of the levels because. This is probably just a me thing, but I've also heard people say the same thing. It's like, I feel like platformers, like if they have levels longer than like a certain time that people like like there's this thing where if levels go on for too long, it's starting to get really boring after a while. I felt that with Klonoa 2, and I've always had the rule of platformers for me that if a level's like 5 to 7 minutes, it's that perfect length where you're engaged but not fully disengaged. But after that, it's like, I'm just fully disengaged. I just want the level to end. And I felt that with Klonoa 2.
Honestly,
Especially with that-
it was just stronger with its level of themes and ideas and all the set pieces just that occurred. There's even one point in Klonoa 2 where it just basically turns into Crisis City, and I love it.
The fucking level where you're just a robot chasing you through the entire thing.
It was funny because I was curious because I actually had a favorite level in Klonoa 2, and I was curious to see what the rest of the world thought about it. So I looked it up because I'm like, that was a cool level. It's the most hated level in the game.
What level was it?
Which one is it?
It's the Ark.
I hated that level.
The first visit to the Ark. I loved that level.
I did not like that level.
Wait, I need to look at what that one is because I was hoping you would say. Well,
It's the level where they introduced the crystal mechanic, and it's like a long puzzle. It's like a very puzzle heavy level. Vibes are very chill, and I really enjoyed that level.
That one sticks out to me as one of my favorites, I think. But I really like.
And I liked the revisit too, which people complained about, even though the revisit felt completely different because the tempo was really different.
My favorite levels were the one where you're on the board.
My favorite
The board was good.
is the
My
Maze
favorite
of
levels were
Memories.
just the ones set.
That was
in,
another one
you
that a
know,
lot
the
of people
Chronicle
hated.
and
That was
more,
my
war heavy.
I liked
area.
that one.
There you go.
I liked the board because the board is actually, I think, what kept Klonoa 2 for feeling for me what it did for you, Aiden. Because sometimes after a level in Klonoa 2, I would be like, all right, that was a little long, but then there would typically be a board level right around the corner to kind of play with the pacing a bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like games with variety and the extra
I
stuff
will
they
say-
add. Work.
I felt like getting all of the collectibles in Klonoa 2 was more annoying.
Oh god,
I just stopped at some point.
I think there's like
because
this
there was-
golden. I think there's like this golden fairy thing you have to collect in every level to 100% it, and I'm just like, fuck that. shit.
There is this one level. I think it's the first time you go through like the Fire City, where I think it's for the 5th piece. You're in like an on rails section,
Uh-huh.
and you have one chance to grab it, and if you miss it, it throws you into a boss fight where your checkpoint gets set. So you have to restart the whole level if you. I tried 3 times. I missed it every time, and so I just gave up on 100%.
I hate platformers that do stuff like that. Where they
And that is
either-
like the only moment of that I can think of in the whole game.
that's like one of my
Well,
least
I
favorite
think
things
that
in
was the platinum
platformers.
trophy.
Oh god. That's one of my least favorite things in platformers. Either you have to collect everything in one perfect run to 100% the level, or it just puts you in a section where you have to collect it that one time and and you have to
it's
revisit it.
Weird, because I assume this wasn't in the original version, because it wasn't for Klonoa 1 when I played PS1 versus PRS, which was that if you collect one of those collectibles, it now persists between even if you die. You don't have to re-get it.
With how faithful these remasters are, and I would say they are the same between them, yeah.
Well, no, so because specifically, like Klonoa 1 PRS made a change to that system where Klonoa 1 PS1, you pick up one of those collectibles and then you die. If you didn't hit a checkpoint, the collectible was gone.
Maybe it's because
Klonoa
it's
1
trying to base
PRS.
itself on the Wii version in some
Yeah.
sense. Because remember, they're going like full 3D models and not
Well, right.
step-based.
But so Klonoa 1 PRS, you get the collectible, you keep it between deaths. So it's very forgiving in that sense. So it made just that one collectible stick out all the much more.
Uh-huh.
Because it was so annoying and that you had to basically replay the entire level if you missed it because of a checkpoint, and there was no way to kill yourself if you missed it.
And with how long those levels are, I might as well just grab my gun and shoot myself instead.
I mean, I got
Something
really
you
good at
can
that level,
but-
running through it 3 times. I'll say that much.
3 times? Revisits were annoying for me, honestly. I just can't stand how long these levels. I like the set pieces and the way the game looks, especially with Blue off. Thank fuck.
I just play games once. I'm normal.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's why your opinions are bad, because you don't revisit them and change
No,
them.
honestly, that can be a good thing sometimes because you can have that good first playthrough and then not tarnish it when the cracks start to show on the
Yeah.
second playthrough.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
why Kibbs like FF13.
No, okay, I guarantee if I replay FF13, I would still adore it just as much. That game is incredible.
It took me 2 playthroughs to like 13.
So if I love it and I play it again, that means it'll become my favorite game ever. It'll actually be hard to beat Final Fantasy 16 right now.
16 is
16.
next time.
And in terms of Final Fantasy, Trail's second chapter, Persona 4, unbeatable in my eyes, unbeatable.
But I would say, like, I'm not gonna say like the Klonoa games are like my favorite. I mean, Klonoa 2 is probably like one of my favorite PS2 games. But like, there's like a fine line between them where I'm like, there can be like a perfect third game for me.
I wish I played Klonoa when I was younger.
I wish I played more of it when I was younger.
For me, they are just solid. I like them.
You're like solid 8.
Like, neither was like a particularly like.
I put them on the same. I put them on the same level of like they're great, but not like things to like freak out over. Like Klonoa fans say they are.
I adore the aesthetic of Klonoa PS1.
Me too.
Also, I'd rather play PS1 because it actually looks a pop-out book, like you said.
I do think I like Klonoa 2 as a game a little bit more, but I think overall my favorite package is just Klonoa 1 PS1.
I'm leaning towards Klonoa 2. You know, not just because of the fact that I just like his design too a lot more and the cast of characters, but also these level on the board, the snow level when you're on the board, he belts out into a musical number, and it's perfect.
Oh, that caught me off guard.
Yeah. Klonoa
the
1
levels
and 2
are better in 2. It's just 1 I think is going to be an experience that sticks with me a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Klonoa, I see Klonoa 1 and 2 as like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where I'm like, they're both on the same level, but
they're
like,
definitely the same in scope.
Yeah, but like
so Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
That's such a crazy comparison, but I get it. You know?
No. I'm not saying they're like the same thing, but like,
I know what you mean though.
But like, no, it's like they're basic. It's like, fuck. Fuck. I hate you guys.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. But like, no. Okay, here. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They're somewhat comparable. Same with Klonoa 1 and Klonoa 2. But like, they're both on the same level as like the original and the sequel. But like, depending on my mood, I might prefer one over the other. And right now, I think I slightly prefer one. Like, that's how I see it.
I prefer the other.
That's why I brought up Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, because I'm feeling the same way with them. But also I like Klonoa's look in 1 better than 2, honestly.
I think I prefer his 2 design.
I don't like how it's mainly. I just don't like. People like the 1 and 2. I'm like, it's good, but it's just blue and red.
Sorry.
I don't know. Maybe it's because like the blue is more prevalent compared to his design in 1, where it's more color variety, so it doesn't just stick out. If that makes any sense. Also, I just like how. Also, I think it's kind of cute how he has a Pac-Man on his head.
Also, the way Klonoa's eyes are designed in Klonoa 2 gave me the impression that he was a long-lost Sonic character.
Have you seen what Klonoa's original design was gonna be like? Bro looks like a fucking tennis ball.
Is it like that weird like knight design?
Yeah.
Because I just saw that because I was trying to check what the like level order was in Klonoa 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw that knight design and kind of like stopped my search the moment I looked at that. Because that is so... Yeah, hold on, let me get a picture. Because this is so far from what he ended up being.
Mm-hmm. It's like the most like... It's the most juxtaposed like character design you'll ever see.
This is apparently the first draft of Klonoa's design.
It's so off-putting to look at. Bro looks like a Bionicle!
That's so cool. What the heck?
Yeah. Bro looks like a Mega Man robot.
Bro, that looks sick.
Oh, however, This sentence is interesting. However, 2 of the concept arts that featured Klonoa fighting actual werewolves, which were later designed into moos, and Hugh-Pow is a cannibalistic monster, which later redesigned into a harmless fairy.
What the
It
fuck?
suggested that the game was originally going to be an action horror game.
Also, I think
What?
Also, the one thing I like about Klonoa one's
I'm gonna be honest. Hugh-Pow may have been turned into a fairy instead of a cannibalistic monster, but he was anything but harmless. The psychological
Yep.
damage he inflicted to everyone will forever be remembered. Like,
Also,
no
he
matter
made
how good his intentions were.
Also, he committed the crime of his human form looking gross.
Oh my god, he looks like a blob of jelly just molded into a body. Also, is it kind of weird how Klonoa in the first game's design has like a fucking belt on his upper torso? Bro's trying to look like a Tetsuya
Listen,
Nomura kid.
yeah,
It's trying to look like a Tetsuya Nomura design.
I've played Kingdom Hearts. You think that phases me?
I was gonna say.
Bro, have you? No. When I first saw Lulu from FF10, I was like, who needs that many bells? I think we exhausted Klonoa, though. Good games. I highly recommend the collection. But maybe play the first game on PS1 if you want a better looking game.
Also, by the way, there's also the fact that there's a bunch of other Klonoa games on GBA and stuff.
And Wonder Swan and
One of them is a turn-based RPG.
yeah, I got it. I think its English patch is fully complete now. So that was it. Are there any games we're excited for that we haven't played that we are excited to play?
I'm gonna
Like
finally
backlog
play.
stuff?
I'm gonna finally play
Sleeping.
Pikmin this year.
Sleeping is the
Ooh.
best. Sleeping is the best game.
Disco Elysium.
Oh, that's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be.
I like that. I like that video game a lot.
And
I made-
Control. That one too.
I made a deal with Twitter that if I don't beat FF13, I'll do something stupid. So I guess I'll talk about FF13 next year.
Let's go.
Probably gonna play Control whenever I get around to Alan Wake.
Yo, let me know when you.
Oh my god!
Let me know
Right.
when you play Control. I'll start at the same time that you do because
Uh-huh.
I'm just waiting for a reason to play it. But yeah, right. Because like right now I'm playing Triangle Strategy, and then I'm gonna be getting House and Fata Morgana's super high up there. I've been wanting to go through that for a minute. But
I
yeah,
know.
I'm excited.
I know Kibbs and Knack are gonna breathe down my necks for as long as they can until I play SC in the third.
Yeah, we're gonna try to make it so that next year when we're here, Aiden's gonna be talking about Cold Steel 4.
I'm not gonna go that far. Whoa. I don't have the same endurance as you, bro. What
You don't get a choice.
do you mean I don't get a choice?
I mean, you can just jump into Cold Steel 4 next.
No, wait, don't do that. No, wait, no. It's a bad idea.
Look, I'm already playing like Jet Set Radio. Okay. I think that about does it.
All right, we
We talked for 4 hours. We beat Sonic Adventure 2.
We did just in 2 hours. Join us next time for the 9-hour episode where we talk about 3 games that came out last year.
Hold on, there's 2 sessions. There's 2 sessions for that
Oh, I
one.
know.
Okay, I'm gonna be real.
I know.
I think
Go into
that
bed.
I think that in the future we might want to shorten the amount of games we talk about. In
Kids.
I think we should put a timer. I think we
A
should
timer.
Yeah.
just a timer. Just be like, you got like at
5,
most
10
5
minutes.
minutes. Yeah.
At most
Yeah.
10 minutes.
No,
Concise thoughts.
we're not doing the Game Awards thing.